you in deeper than I let anyone else before. Fell in love with my broken pieces, took them all and made them yours. Didn't know what my heartbeat needed, skipping out, no I can't keep score. When I lose my breath, boy, you got me breathing. Oh, every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Oh, magic. No, I'm never letting go. Now that I have it with you. When you kiss me, it's like the stars fall out the sky onto my heart to cover up what I don't wanna show. I let you in deeper than I let anyone else before. Fell in love with my broken pieces, took them all and made them yours. Didn't know what my heartbeat needed, skipping out, no I can't keep score. When I lose my breath, boy, you got me breathing. Oh, every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Oh, you take me higher, you take me higher, baby, you take me higher, you take me higher, baby, you take me higher, you take me higher, baby, you take me higher, yeah, you take me higher, baby.
Welcome to Radical Truth to Power, the progressive news show with Let's BS3. I am your host, Marlon, along with Anna and Theas.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
And one thing I want to go ahead and get out of the way, and that is the announcement that I've told everybody that I was going to announce. So I'm going to do it now because it's important to do it now. The announcement is Radical Truth to Power is going back to podcast. I will be syncing this podcast and I will be syncing this show and putting it back on my podcast platforms.
Hey.
However, only the first hour. So you will be getting the first hour of all our news and our analyzation of all the up-to-date or situations, politics, whatever. You want to enjoy the second hour of us just hanging out and picking on each other and everything else, you will have to go to YouTube.com/Radical Truth to Power to see the second hour of the show. But for the first hour of the show is all our analyzations of all the current events that's going on in the world. We will be going back to doing podcasting. What day, I will let everybody know. The quicker I can get it, the better I can get it. But I will let everybody know that the podcast is up and running now.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Now, folks, you'll be able to hear the smooth stylings of this wonderful panel without having to look at each of our adoring faces so that you're not distracted by our beauty and can only focus on our depth. Yes, coming to podcast soon.
Yeah, dog.
This just in. The podcast has been canceled. So we're going to get right on into it. The January 6th committee, we have to go ahead and make it quick because 17 clips, the most I've ever had on a show ever. As a matter of fact, if I probably look at it, it's probably more than 2 shows combined.
Yay.
Yeah. So let's see who we already got out there. So Anna having to literally be the first person always on everything. Did this last night. To tell everybody she can't wait to do the show today. So I appreciate it. Hello, Mickey. Hello, Susan. Susan is
Hello.
Hello. How y'all's wonderful people?
So you won't be live the first hour, but we need Thea's facial expressions. You better try to get all the facial expressions in the first hour. The show that's on YouTube will be 2 hours plus. But the podcast will only be the first hour. And that's usually for people who just really want, the analyzation. They don't want the am I the a-hole and stuff like that. And that's understandable, So I'm just going to put the first hour up on our podcast and hope everybody enjoy it. Download it, enjoy it.
Are you going into work? Yes.
There you go. Listen to it while you're at work. So without further ado, so we can get to it, let's get this party started. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the podcast. Diaz, who's actually on the show, is saying, get in early to catch it all right here. Woo to the who. Jeebus. Anyway, so we're going to get into it. And I'm going to preference a lot of these things because, like I said, it's a lot of clips. So first, we're going to start off with the first analogy of what Liz Cheney was saying the whole time, that none of these things, none of the events leading up to and the event of the insurrection just happened. That this was all pretty much set up from the get-go. This was always planned to happen. Now, some of the nuances and things may have sporadically popped up and was added to the plan, but at the end, it was all a plan. So the first couple of clips that I'm going to show you is the fact that it didn't matter what people was telling Trump. So, when Trump was coming out and saying, my people is telling me that there's issues with the election. My people are telling me that they found this and that. My people are telling me. Well, I'm going to show you a couple of clips of people who flat out was telling him, no, that's not true. So the first clip is of Bill Barr saying, no, it's not true.
Lincoln sealed that memo and asked his cabinet secretaries to sign it sight unseen. He asked them to make the same commitment he did, to accept defeat if indeed defeat was the will of the people, to uphold the rule of law, to do what every president who came before him did, and what every president who followed him would do until Donald Trump. Donald Trump lost the presidential election in 2020. The American people voted him out of office. It was not because of a rigged system. It was not because of voter fraud. Don't believe me? Hear what his former Attorney General had to say about it. I warn those who watching that this contains strong language.
No, just what I've been through. I had 3 discussions with the president that I can recall. One was on November 23rd, one was on December 1st, and one was on December 14th. And I've been through sort of the give and take of those discussions. And in that context, I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bullshit. And, I didn't want to be a part of it, and that's one of the reasons that went into me deciding to leave when I did. I observed, I think it was on December 1st, that, how can you can't live in a world where the incumbent administration stays in power based on its view, unsupported by specific evidence, that there was fraud in the election.
Bill.
Hello,
Hey,
Tracy.
Tracy.
Now let's make something perfectly clear to just flat out just annihilate all of these. Because of what these people are doing now, those will automatically make them good guys. Bill Barr is by far, in no way, shape, or form, a good guy. He all of a sudden didn't grow morals or values or anything else. I just want to make that perfectly clear to you right now that he's not. He's the same a-hole that bombed the park in Washington, D.C., so Trump can go take his little photo op in front of the church holding the Bible upside down. Let's make that clear. That's the same guy. But that was the person who was Trump's personal attorney, tried to shut up a civil suit of a witness, had nothing to do with the White House, had nothing to do with his presidency. That was Trump's personal attorney. So again, I just want to emphasize this the most, that this guy is not a good guy because he did this. But he is saying, whether it's saving his own butt, whatever the reason did, that he himself has told Trump on numerous occasions, you lost, there are no signs of fraud, and you need to stop doing this. And Trump clearly he said he left. I don't know if he left. I don't know if Trump fired him. I'm just going by what he said. He said he left himself. So, again, we're talking about Bill Barr, so take everything with a grain of salt. We're talking about Trump, who has no problem firing who disagree with him on anything. So take that, again, with a grain of salt. But
I think he left before he could be fired. That's
a possibility too. I wouldn't be shocked either. Pretty sure he saw the writing on the wall, and he probably disagreed with this a long time ago, and he knew it was going to happen, so he got out of Dodge. This?
Oh, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, Bill Barr, Attorney General, personal fixer, fawning to get into the position in the first place, lied on the Mueller report, weakened the Department of Justice to the point it's still weak now. All right, yeah, well, nice for you to tell us what we already knew. Appreciate it. I guess I get frustrated with the coverage per se, because it's all normalizing this stuff. It's like we're watching Dallas or some scripted TV show. It's, I don't know.
This was
Barr,
produced, absolutely. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Barr and all the other Republicans who supported every Trump lie, crime, atrocity for 4 years got no praise. They all were rats who deserted the ship as soon as they were sure it was sinking. And by the way, just to add a point on that,
100%.
Mickey to put a fine point on that, and they literally waited to the last second to leave the ship.
Which in a way was a bad decision because Trump is in a position to actually become the next president. So he coming for every last one of y'all, So yeah.
We're gonna move on to now Ivana Trump.
Ivanka. Ivana's
Ivana's the wife.
But
Yes,
actually,
that's right.
technically, he's right because she does have the same name as her mother.
Yes.
No, her mama's Ivana.
No, Ivanka is a nickname. Her real name is
Her-
Ivana. Don't ask me how I know it. I just do.
It's okay. That's neat to know, though. It's cool.
For the people who can't even pronounce Kamala, I could give a rat's ass that I said the name wrong. I'm sorry, but not sorry. So who is this again? Ivanka? Vicky?
The favorite daughter. The favorite
The
daughter.
favorite daughter, yep.
The daughter he
Favorite
would marry if it was legal.
If it was
Yep.
legal,
Exactly.
we're going to hear from her.
Persisted, repeating the false Dominion allegations in public at least a dozen more times, even after his attorney general told him they were, quote, complete nonsense. And after Barr's resignation on December 23rd, the acting attorney general who replaced him, Jeff Rosen, and the acting deputy, Richard Donahue, told President Trump over and over again that the evidence did not support allegations he was making in public. Many of President Trump's White House staff also recognized that the evidence did not support the claims President Trump was making. This is the president's daughter commenting on Bill Barr's statement that the department found no fraud sufficient to overturn the election.
How did that affect your perspective about the election when Attorney General Barr made that statement?
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr. So I accepted what he was saying.
First of all, can somebody answer a question? Was she in the bathroom or something when she did this? That background is like really weird.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But it wasn't a very favorable background for her, right?
Mhm.
It gave a very Michael Jackson kind of look going on there. She was so washed out. Normally she's such a pretty lady. So it's like, you look at Liz Cheney, her stylist definitely worked with her, made sure she was all ready for the camera shot and everything, so she looked good. And then you got Ivanka over here doing her deposition, and she looked like, she's in the men's room, and the sound is bouncing off the porcelain.
That's what she was going for.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Iskanka, you mean?
Mickey.
Wow, Mickey.
Iskanka, you mean? Oh, right. Other words, Iskanka is saying. It is exactly the way it is. Ivanka is saying that she respects Barr much. Yeah, that's exactly the way I took it, Mickey. That's exactly the way that she respected Barr's decision or whatever more than little Daddy Dearest.
That's not what I got from it.
That's not what I got from it at all.
Okay, speak your mind.
Yeah, what I got from it was real simple. Trump is saying something that is demonstrably false and can easily be disproven. Barr is saying something that can be proven. She sided with the side that could make sense. That doesn't mean that she doesn't back her dad on everything else or a lot of other things or so many other things. It just means on this one that could put her in jail, she was like, yeah, Dad, that ain't right. I mean, that's just normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
The family reunions are going to be really interesting.
Yeah, somebody mentioned earlier that this is going to get her out of the inheritance. And I'm like, first of all, this woman is stupid rich on her own right because they've been grifting and stealing and doing deals and building businesses. And so, she don't need no inheritance. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? But I know that she knows that she's like in her 40s, 50s. She's got a long way to go.
40s. Yeah, she's younger than.
Yeah. So
Yes.
she's not trying to burn her whole world down to a point that, her kids and herself can't function.
She was probably doing exactly what her father taught her to do.
Oh yeah, they're all vicious.
Yep.
And we don't know. Trump might have actually told her to do it. People keep talking about Trump like he's stupid. And I keep saying the man is not stupid. No one is able to function this way and be stupid.
He
Nutty,
sure
yes.
does it. He makes a really strong case for it.
He does if you're like listening to the word salad that he throws out. But you notice even with all of this, you can't lay a finger on an actual crime that he did because he always keeps space between himself and the people who do things like a true crime boss would do. And the crime boss can almost never be touched because they do that. That's not the mark of a stupid person. I don't know. I just think people need to stop selling their enemy short because that's how you keep getting beat by your enemy.
Very true.
Okay, then I'll just put it to you this way. He's one of the greatest con artists this country has ever seen.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, that I will agree with.
But I'm sorry, I can't book smart.
He doesn't have to be book smart to be smart.
Very different.
A lot of hustlers are killers with words and numbers and all of that. Couldn't pass an SAT test if they had to, but that doesn't mean that they're not smart.
Mickey, I skated.
Jared was working in the White House. They made over $614 million.
And they made even more. Yep.
$2 billion from Saudi. Hey, Mama Hart.
Hello.
Hi, Mama.
Yeah. In my opinion, Trump is stupid in every area of life except how to be a grifter. Yeah.
I disagree with that as well. But no, I see where you come from.
I just really the flim man. I just think that Trump has exceeded his intelligence. I'll put it to you this way. His intelligence is clearly based on being a card artist. That's about if that's what the definition of smart is, fine. He is very smart at being a card artist. But anything outside of even remotely doing, and you could tell when he does his speeches, anything that's remotely not about him, when he dedicates this land to these people, when he talking about the beautiful sakura trees and all this, when it's anything other than him, the dude is not intelligent. The only time intelligence come into play is when he's saving his butt and making money. And then I agree with you. He literally is probably the most intelligent person we've known.
Well, I ain't say that, but yeah.
But this dude knows how to play the game.
Yes. And he's in a financial position to where he can fail forward.
Yep.
So the only reason a lot of people that we will never hear about that are truly geniuses is because they never had the opportunity or the access. He's had both. So he can be a strong C student and live an A+ life because of where he was positioned to play the game from.
He's been a total flop in business his entire life. Since bankruptcy and over 20 failed businesses. And Mickey, with that, falls into what I'm saying. When it comes to something that even remotely is honest, or even on the same level as trying to be honest, he fails.
By whose definition?
by any definition of 6 freaking bankruptcies and 20 failed businesses.
So imagine that your business plan is to use debt and bankruptcies to maintain a certain standard of living that is far beyond someone who has never had a single bankruptcy. Are you failing?
Yeah.
How so?
Because you know that you don't have the core values to actually run a legitimate business.
So you're going on a moral.
Your whole core value is to run a business that you know is going to fail so you can profit off of it. That's not saying you're intelligent. That's just saying I've learned the game a lot sooner than a lot of other people.
Well, it's a different argument.
You set up your business strategy at the very end of saying, and I know this is going to fail.
Yes.
So how is that intelligent?
So you're conflating two different arguments. We already had the intelligence argument. I'm talking about the business side. So I'm saying that what he's done is not technically failing if it's sustaining exactly the standard of living that he's after.
Mm-hmm.
So it really comes down to what measuring stick you're using. Now, for me, 6 bankruptcies, yeah, I failed. Okay, but that's because that's not what I'm trying to do. But if you're someone who is cynical and you're in the position to where it's all about the actual game, not the moral side, not the am I a good guy, am I a bad guy? Screw all of that. It's all about standard of living and connections. Then failing has a different definition.
When his
he failed his way into being the president. He failed his way into having 30 to 40% of the country following behind him. He's failing in having national and militia groups that are willing to kill and kidnap on his orders. He failed in having people willing to go to jail so that he doesn't get in trouble. That's some great failing if that's where you're willing to operate.
When his casinos were doing well, he wanted to build 2 more in the same area. His advisors all told him he was competing with himself. He insisted he would be X time more successful.
Yeah,
3 times.
Yeah, he's not bright as far as some of his business decisions.
Trump stakes.
But he knows how to put the right people there to make sure that he always has what he needs.
Trump Airlines.
Trump steaks. Trump wine.
Mm-hmm.
Trump University.
Yeah, he just puts his name on stuff and keeps it moving.
Now, I will say this about Trump. Disgusting, but I can't lie about it. The dude is a master of branding.
That's his business.
He can brand the heck out of something. Because literally, if you said steak, what did that mean? Trump steak. Oh, he's a successful business person. He's got to be great.
Yeah, another way I'm going to talk about how successful this person is in that particular light. We're all dedicating shows, time, and hours to this man. Mm-hmm. You don't do that for regular people.
We don't do any of this stuff for a regular person.
Exactly. So I'm just saying.
But regular people didn't get up and Washington, the Capitol, and say of their vice president when they said, "Hey, Mike Pence." Well, maybe it wasn't such a bad idea.
No, but regular people did go into the building looking for Mike Pence. So,
and whose idea was that? Who told them to go?
Who knows? That's what they can't prove.
We do know.
No, we know he was involved, but we don't know that he was his idea.
No, I didn't say Trump.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say Trump. I'm just saying we do know. We'll find out at the end of the show. Or close to the end of the show. So anyway, how many more people was telling Trump, stop, dude, the election is over? So not one, and I'm going to go into succession because like I said, we got to keep this moving. So not one.
Violation of his constitutional obligation to relinquish power. Over multiple months, Donald Trump oversaw and coordinated a sophisticated 7-part plan to overturn the presidential election and prevent the transfer of presidential power. In our hearings, you will see evidence of each element of this plan. In our second hearing, you will see that Donald Trump and his advisors knew that he had in fact lost the election. But despite this, President Trump engaged in a massive effort to spread false and fraudulent information to convince huge portions of the U.S. population that fraud had stolen the election from him. This was not true. Jason Miller was a senior Trump campaign spokesman. In this clip, Miller describes a call between the Trump campaign's internal data expert and President Trump a few days after the 2020 election.
I was in the Oval Office, and at some point in the conversation, Matt Oskowski, who is the lead data person, was brought on, and I remember he delivered to the president pretty blunt terms that he was going to lose.
And that was based, Mr. Miller, on Matt and the data team's assessment of the sort of county by county, state by state results as reported?
Correct.
So that's the first one. Here's the second one.
Alex Cannon was one of President Trump's campaign lawyers. He previously worked for the Trump Organization. One of his responsibilities was to assess allegations of election fraud in November 2020. Here is one sample of his testimony discussing what he told White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows.
I remember a call with Mr. Meadows, where Mr. Meadows was asking me what I was finding and if I was finding anything. And I remember sharing with him that we weren't finding anything that would be sufficient to change the results in any of the key states.
When was that conversation?
Probably in November, mid to late November. I think it was before my child was born.
And what was Mr. Meadows' reaction to that information?
I believe the words he used were, "So there's no there."
Number 3.
The Trump campaign's general counsel, Matt Morgan, gave similar testimony. He explained that all of the fraud allegations and the campaign's other election arguments taken together and viewed in the best possible light for President Trump could still not change the outcome of the election. President Trump's Attorney General Bill Barr also told Donald Trump his election claims were wrong.
Repeatedly told the president in no uncertain terms that I did not see evidence of fraud and that would have affected the outcome of the election. And frankly, a year and a half later, I haven't seen anything to change my mind on that.
Attorney General Barr also told President Trump that his allegations about Dominion voting machines were groundless.
I saw absolutely zero basis for the allegations, but they were made in such a sensational way that they obviously were influencing a lot of people, members of the public, that there was this systemic corruption in the system and that their votes didn't count and that these machines controlled by somebody else were actually determining it, which was complete nonsense. And it was being laid out there. And I told them that it was crazy stuff and they were wasting their time on that. And it was doing a grave disservice to the country.
So right there, and once again, I want to emphasize that none of these people are good guys. None of what they did nor done will erase what they've done the 4 years that they was in there with Trump. But even they saw the writing on the wall that, and I hate to say it as flat as I'm saying it, but it's about as true as I could, or if anybody on here can find a better way, they're just flat out saying, dude, you're lost. And anything that you do from this point on is going to be dangerous. It's going to damage the country. And believe me, when we're talking about these guys, they damaged the country in the 4 years they was in there. So, like I said, they didn't all of a sudden grow a conscience. They saw the writing on the wall. They knew they lost. Let's suck it up and get out of here. We'll find another way. No, all of y'all are wrong. I'm Trump. I know what I'm doing. And he ignored him. I wouldn't even say ignore. That's kind of like listening to him and moving about his way. He was going to ignore them, regardless. Only thing that Trump was going to hear was, "Is there a way to keep me in office?" That's it. Find a way to keep me in office. Yeah, you could tell me that I lost the election and everything else. I tell you like this, and I thought about this the other way, because people keep saying he won't accept the fact that he lost. I don't know about that. He may literally accept it that he lost. He still wants to find a way to stay in office. There's one thing to accept defeat. There's another way of saying, and so what? Find me a way to stay in office. That's it. That's the goal. Even if you say I lost, fine. Now still find me a way to stay in office. There is nothing said that there is no way in the world that you wanted this loss. Yeah, I heard you on that. Find me a way to stay in office. That was the end goal, period. That's the end goal of anything. That's why I said I'm not even trying to get these people to listen to strategy, try to get you to understand that the dude lost and all that. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with trying to change people's minds. Because they can accept the fact that they lost. All they want to know is, even after defeat, what can you possibly do beyond a shadow of a doubt to make sure that I sustain the power that I have right now? Defeat doesn't matter to them. That wasn't the end goal. They can accept it or don't. You have people right now who still won't accept it, and you still have people who will accept it, but so that was not the end goal of all Trump was doing, was to stay in power. That was it. So it had nothing to do with acceptance. It had nothing to do with that at all. I'm not carrying this show. Y'all better say something.
I mean, what
Dude,
can you
just
say?
went on a 5-minute rant and didn't breathe one time.
There's not much to add to that.
You know, it's like, what we gonna say?
And then how do you follow that?
All I can say is Trump knows good and well he lost. He knows he's lost. He's using this as a way to get money from. This is making. He says he's a billionaire, but yet he begs and begs for money from his supporters. If you're a billionaire, you don't need it, but that's a whole nother point. He uses this to get money from his supporters, and they keep giving it to him and keep giving it to him, so he's going to keep beating out the same lie over and over and over again.
Anna?
I absolutely think you're right. It was all about staying in power, and I really don't think there's much to add.
Theus?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lay said.
Sorry, there are moments when I go into these rants and it's just...
Yep, you sure do.
I'm with you,
It's
Mom.
your
I
show,
do
man.
it too, bro.
It's your show. I mean, what we gonna do?
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things that just like, we are so used to waiting on some type of morals and values to at some point take over and normalize these things, these situations. We are so far down a rabbit hole. We're so far down a rabbit hole. We are sitting here complaining about Biden being boring
or not doing enough
or not doing nothing.
But
that's how far down the rabbit hole.
Not this argument
we
again.
have fallen so far down that we have been so used to being a White House entertainment.
But was Trump really entertained? I mean, every time I saw his face on TV, I would just literally turn the channel. I'm like, okay, I don't have to see this.
You was one of them, but not everybody did. Everybody had to be entertained. Everything had to be blown up 10 times more than what it was. So when somebody actually goes in and do their freaking job, and it ain't a whole bunch of fanfare and balloons falling down and horns blowing and confetti falling. Oh, that was so boring.
Well, I also put it this way. If you want to see how entertaining Trump was, the ratings that all of the networks and the ad revenue and all those things that the networks were able to make off of Trump has been the high watermark for every last one of them. Fox focuses so much on Trump because Trump makes a lot of money just talking about him and all things about him. MSNBC and CNN, they do the exact same thing. They have been hurting financially ever since, relative. They're all making money, but relative. They've been hurting financially ever since Trump got caught off of Twitter and was no longer able to force himself into the media. And all they had was Biden. So this right here is a ratings bonanza for these guys. And once again, it's all around Trump. But I think I figured out why I'm so apathetic, Marlon. This ain't my democracy. So I find it hard to get emotionally tied into it because I'm looking at it like, okay, what are we going to get out of this? What are they trying to get out of this? And what does it mean to me? Right? Because they people keep saying, well, we got to save our democracy. I ain't never had democracy here. That's not been the story for the people near the bottom. So what are we trying to save? Are we trying to save it from getting worse? Or are we actually trying to make it better? And right now, that answer is not very clear.
My deal is why I'm not getting and I hear what you're saying, Thea, and I agree with what you're saying. Why I'm not getting emotional about it is because, quite honestly, White House, Capitol, y'all haven't shown me a damn thing. This is interesting. I'll give you that. It's interesting.
I can't give you that.
I'm not agreeing with that at all.
This is interesting, but it's interesting on the level, like I said last night. It's on the level of an 80s ABC miniseries.
No,
it's nothing, and I'm sorry to be skeptical about it, but I just until I actually see something that comes out of it, that's all I'm going to look at it this way.
But that's just it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tracy.
No, go ahead, because I'm gonna have a rant coming up.
Oh, but it's like it's not interesting because they're not making it interesting, right? So that's why I was saying, what are they trying to get out of this? So if what they're wanting to get out of this is to shame the Republicans and shame Fox News and put all of the dirt out there on the table so that it can help them move to the midterms, to resurrect their leverage heading into the midterms because they've lost so much of it. I don't see this way they're doing it. I don't see it working that way. What they're going to do is they're going to keep this first episode was, I don't know, it was boring to me, but that's cool. But if what you're trying to do is gather eyeballs and you want to make this part of your political campaign for the midterms, then this needs to be a lot more jazzy than what we're getting. Okay? It's not even about so much the information we get. It's how entertaining and compelling and eye-grabbing you can make it. And putting up these people who sound like they just want to take a nap ain't gonna get you there. So are you trying to do like, what do they call it? The thing from Nixon's time, where you're really trying to be serious and dig through it? Well, then if you're trying to do that, your first episode doesn't speak that way, so you've lost that. So I'm like, what in the hell y'all trying to do?
Waste my time.
Well,
they're literally.
Go ahead, Tracy. Go ahead.
They're literally this whole. First of all, I got a whole bunch of questions. Why are they going 25 weeks on this thing? They could do the whole thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Have this whole thing over with and done with. Why you got to go all? You got to go 5 weeks. 5 weeks.
It's all about politics.
Secondly, I'm with this. Who don't give certain people. And I don't want to talk about poor Benny Thomas because I'm sure Benny mean well, but I'm like, dude, if you don't grow a person, you got to do something. Get up and
but
do
that
a
edge
song.
up is good though, right? That edge up. Yo, my man look clean though. My man look clean.
But now you're speaking it to my wheelhouse though.
Yeah, it's like they
not one of y'all said anything about facts.
Because they made it so boring. I maybe watched like 10 minutes and then I was like, oh, House Hunters is on. Let me turn.
So y'all still want to be entertained.
No, I don't want to be entertained. What I'm saying to you is you have to look at it for what it is. Okay? If this was supposed to be serious and just here's how we paint the DOJ into a corner so they have to prosecute, then you would take a different format. It would still be boring, but the format would be different because it would be very serious. It would have the people sitting there, not on video clips, and you would be moving forward, right? That's not what they chose to do. Instead, they're like, wait a minute, we can't let a good crisis go by. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we start this stuff on TV early enough that the Republicans can't get seated and stop our committee. And we're going to spread it out so that it stays going forward coming out of the summer. So now it truly is two parts. The first part is serious, but that part gets lost because you chose to make it a campaign move. So now people are going to be sucking on this thing as a campaign ad, and those who are interested are already interested. Those who aren't going to turn away.
And again, they need the people who talk, both Liz Cheney and Penny. Oh no, I don't ever. If I never hear them. What?
We need Liz. She the only one with some
we need Liz
ability to speak.
She don't have. I'm just like, as long as they don't get Adam Schiff.
Imagine if they had Chuck Schumer speaking.
Oh gosh.
If they had Chuck Schumer speaking, or they had the guy who did the impeachment, who's on the news all the time. I can't say his name, but this is one his son passed away from suicide.
He's on the committee.
Right. But imagine you just had these people talking all the time.
Oh gosh.
You want to talk about how boring that would be? Democrats are all 95 years old. They
could have got AOC. They could have got somebody with
can't get AOC. AOC is too polarizing, so they ain't gonna let her do it. So
somebody with something.
Somebody under age 70, maybe.
That's all I'm saying.
And that's how they got Liz Cheney, because they were like, all right, we need a young buck. Give me that 65-year-old woman.
Because Adam Kinzinger, the other Republican, he quit his office, so he's only on there for a few more weeks. I'm like, they could have just did this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, been done with the whole thing.
They should have done it all in 1 week, and they should have been super, super serious. Like
a real trial.
It wouldn't be interesting, but it would be serious, like a trial. And we would have sat there and been tied in. And you watch, and I think I mentioned this before. They should have done it twice a day. You do your evening live, and you replay it all day the next day. And then you do your next one live, and you do so on. And you just continue that forward. They've done it in the past. It's the most effective way. But this is great because we can spread it out, and then we can wait for CNN and MSNBC to do the work for us.
I'm just like, come on. People are worried about gas prices and baby formula and food prices. They're not going to take time out of their day to watch this. They're
Well,
just not.
if they're serious about their country, they would. But
most people are not serious about their country.
Right. So then we're right back where we started.
Most people, I mean, I'm almost like, nah, I don't want to watch this. I know what happened. They're not telling me anything new. It's not like they're saying Trump made a rap video. They're not saying anything.
Yeah, they're going to get around to it because the first one was literally just opening arguments. But
Katie Porter is problematic to me, but
I'm not familiar which one is that?
Katie Porter is from
California.
The chart lady?
Katie Porter is the one.
She's the one with the whiteboard.
Yeah, okay.
Something wrong.
Yeah, I wanted to get away from these personalities, but until then, let's get better ones in there, so that we'd have a Katie and we have a AOC.
But Benny was talking like this, and
that was peppy for him.
I was like, dude,
it was nighttime. What do you expect from this man?
We got to move on. Just a bunch of Debbie Downers. We got to move on.
We just telling the truth.
Being practical, bro.
Got to do something to put some excitement in there.
So we're going to go ahead and start getting into the juicy one. We're going to go ahead and just jump into the setup.
First, our investigation is still ongoing. So what we make public here will not be the complete set of information we will ultimately disclose. And second, the Department of Justice is currently working with cooperating witnesses and has disclosed to date only some of the information it has identified from encrypted communications and other sources. On December 18, 2020, a group including General Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, and others visited the White House. They stayed late into the evening. We know that the group discussed a number of dramatic steps, including having the military seize voting machines and potentially rerun elections. You will also hear that President Trump met with that group alone for a period of time before White House lawyers and other staff discovered the group was there and rushed to intervene. A little more than an hour after Ms. Powell, Mr. Giuliani, General Flynn, and the others finally left the White House, President Trump sent the tweet on the screen now, telling people to come to Washington on January 6th. Be there, he instructed them. Will be wild. As you will see, this was a pivotal moment. This tweet initiated a chain of events. The tweet led to the planning for what occurred on January 6th, including by the Proud Boys, who ultimately led the invasion of the Capitol and the violence on that day. The indictment of a group of Proud Boys alleges that they planned, quote, to oppose by force the authority of the government of the United States. And according to the Department of Justice, on January 6, 2021, the defendants directed, mobilized, and led members of the crowd onto the Capitol grounds and into the Capitol, leading to the dismantling of metal barricades, the destruction of property, the breaching of the Capitol building, and the assaults on law enforcement. Although certain former Trump officials have argued that they did not anticipate violence on January 6th, the evidence suggests otherwise. As you will see in our hearings, the White House was receiving specific reports in the days leading up to January 6th, including during President Trump's Ellipse rally, indicating that elements in the crowd were preparing for violence at the Capitol. And on the evening of January 5th, the president's close advisor, Steve Bannon, said this on his podcast.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. Just understand this. All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
As part of our investigation, we will present information about what the White House and other intelligence agencies knew and why the Capitol was not better prepared. But we will not lose sight of the fact.
So that in and of itself is, like I said, the plan was set for this to happen. It wasn't something that happened organically. It wasn't something that started off. I have to choose my words wisely on this because I don't want to get lost in translation. It started off peacefully on purpose. It was always going to lead to that attack. If what I'm saying makes sense, it was always going to lead to this insurrection.
Two things. One, we kind of already those with functioning brain matter should have already known that these groups were using the normal protest congregation as cover, right? So then they could go and spark it. Energy would transfer, and then you would have more people moving, and that's what happened. And that's exactly what they did, because that's just common sense. And two, insurrection from a branding standpoint, because there's not like a real, no one's being charged with insurrection. It's all like sedition and stuff like that, or interfering with a government process or something like that, right? Why go with insurrection? Why go with a 12th grade vocabulary word? From the beginning, it should have been labeled as a domestic terrorist attack. And even if the media didn't want to run with it, even if the Republicans and their cohorts didn't want to run with it, if the left had stayed with that, no matter what, those are the words, domestic terrorist attack, we would have a whole different mood going. But instead, they settled on insurrection, which, to me, I don't know, why use an SAT word? Make your messaging more simple.
Well, that's what the left, that's my criticism of the left. We use words, nuclear proliferation. Why not just say, you don't want to talk down to people, but you, like you said, you don't want to go for those $15 words. You want to keep your words in the $8 to $10 range. Somewhere around there where everybody can catch it. And Democrats don't do that. And especially
use words with emotional impact.
They have no emotion. They just say things like, they should not do that, but we're going to work across the aisle. Why am I going to work across the aisle with domestic terrorists? That's what the Republican Party is. They're a group of terrorists.
Yeah, we're going with stuff like they are fascists. They are
oligarchy. What the?
Oligarchy. They're pushing for installment of a neo conservative political something. Meanwhile, the other side is like predator, rapist, child offender. They're just like,
words to give you understand a lot quicker.
Something real.
You got to say it where people will get it. Not to say you're going to talk down to people, because I don't want to suggest that. But stop with the $15, $20 words. Like, nobody knows what you're talking about.
Or they're not feeling it.
And you have no emotion. Like, try to have some empathy, some emotion, a tear or two. Like that, something. Do something.
And be willing to make people mad. And the Democrats don't want to do that. And then on top of that, like, I still go back to that old analogy I said, like in high school, where you had your jocks and the popular kids, and then you had your really nerdy kids, right? And the jocks got away with everything. They got passed through. They were always looked up to, even by the nerdy kids who got the good grades. To me, our political system is the Republicans are the jocks and the rich kids, and the Democrats are the nerdy kids. So even though you're now supposedly peers as far as power is concerned, you secretly still want to be them.
Use the use the tactics that they use. As much as I loathe the Republican Party, and I do loathe them, they use some pretty good branding tactics when they're trying to communicate a message. Number one, they repeat the same lie over and over and over. It could be the most, they went off about Minnie Mouse wearing pants. Turned the whole attention away from COVID and got people talking about that.
Which then made it easier when DeSantis went after Disney for their side to still be like, yeah, Disney is a problem. Everything works together for them. Everything comes out. Now, granted, they only have largely one base to talk to, but they ignore their voters just as much as Democrats do. But they ignore their voters and deliver them emotional wins.
Yeah.
Democrats ignore their voters and they can't deliver anything tangible because tangible is harder and because the other side is in a position to block you. So
just pick a
it's a
point
mess.
and keep repeating it. Just say Trump is a terrorist and just repeat it. Don't say anything else. Just be like Trump is a terrorist.
You call him a terrorist sympathizer, right?
No, he's not a sympathizer. He a starter. He started that whole thing.
I don't think so. But that's where we end up with the debate, which is good.
No, he started it. That was the point of this whole thing.
That's why I'm saying he's going to get away with that part.
Place from the beginning.
Where did the burner phones come from? Whose idea?
Someone on his staff?
No. No.
I know what you guys want. I'm telling
it's
you,
not
I'm looking at history, and I'm like,
it's not a want, it's facts.
How's it a fact? Where's the fact? Give me the fact. Because if we had the fact, we'd already be done with this.
He literally said with his mouth,
you know what?
They were going to hang Mike Pence. I mean, y'all go down there to the Capitol, and I'll be down there with you. His blippity blip self went right back to that White House, and then when they started, and then when they chanted "Hang Mike Pence," well, you know, it's something to the effect of it's not a bad idea. Yeah, they have a point or whatever. That's not he started.
That's not starting it. That's co-signing it.
Co-signing starting, that's the same thing to me.
No, it's not.
How was that? First of all, how did you come up with co-signing?
So the people
he encouraged it, but he didn't actually start
it. He's the accelerant, right? But these people that are doing all these horrible acts and stuff across the country, all right, they just needed him to give them cover. But they are not necessarily needing him to give them permission or the mission itself. They have their stuff. Steve Bannon, if you're going to find somebody who's like linked to everything, Steve Bannon is your guy. He's linked to Trump. He's linked to the fanaticist people. He's linked to the militias. He's linked to the scam artists who did like the wall and all that stuff. He's your guy.
Trump
was
started
used to do all
that. Let me meet you halfway, Theus. If that's the case, and Steve Bannon is the link to all of this, who called Steve Bannon? With the knowledge that you just said,
yes,
you know what was going to happen. Trump knew who to call to get it moving.
Trump knew who to call to help him be effective in office, and he called in Bannon. And Bannon had his own agenda. And Bannon used Trump and everybody else to get things in place, and then he backed off. Soon as everything was in place the way he needed it, Bannon walked out of that thing, had a little fake fight with Trump, even though they're still chummy to this day, got a pardon and everything. But he walked away so that he can continue to work in the grassroots to keep what was coming. So I'm not saying Trump is a good guy. Absolutely not. I would love for him to go to jail. But America will protect the presidency before they will ever do anything else.
So now that part is unfortunately true. I wish I lived in Brazil. They arrest their presidents. They put them right in prison.
Yeah, just they also kill people for being gay. So I mean, you know,
I'm just saying in terms of prosecuting politicians. I'm just saying they get some stuff right. They don't get everything right.
All right, I got two more clips that I need to get through before the hour. We're already over the hour, so let's go ahead and go through this quickly. So the insurrection, the terrorist attack has already started. And there was absolutely no help from Trump at all.
The president needed to say, quote, anyone who entered the Capitol without proper authority should leave immediately. This is exactly what his supporters on Capitol Hill and nationwide were urging the president to do. He would not. You will hear that leaders on Capitol Hill begged the president for help, including Republican leader McCarthy, who was, quote, scared, and called multiple members of President Trump's family after he could not persuade the president himself. Not only did President Trump refuse to tell the mob to leave the Capitol, he placed no call to any element of the United States government to instruct that the Capitol be defended. He did not call his Secretary of Defense on January 6th. He did not talk to his Attorney General. He did not talk to the Department of Homeland Security. President Trump gave no order to deploy the National Guard that day, and he made no effort to work with the Department of Justice to coordinate and deploy law enforcement assets. But Vice President Pence did each of those things. For example, here is what General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, testified to this committee.
There were 2 or 3 calls with Vice President Pence. He was very animated, and he issued very explicit, very direct, unambiguous orders. There was no question about that. And I can get you the exact quotes, I guess, from some of our records somewhere, but he was very animated, very direct, very firm, and to Secretary Miller. Get the military down here, get the Guard down here, put down this situation, etc.
By contrast, here is General Milley's description of his conversation with President Trump's Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, on January 6th.
He said, we have to kill the narrative that the Vice President is making all the decisions. We need to establish the narrative that that the president is still in charge and that things are steady or stable or words to that effect. I immediately interpret that as politics, politics, politics. Red flag for me personally, no action, but I remember it distinctly.
The starter.
So we're in the midst of this now. We got to take this as the terrorist attack, the domestic terrorist attack is going on right now. At this point, Trump is not calling anybody. There are people who are telling Trump to call somebody. His loyal subjects, the ones that was with him through thick and thin, with all the heinous crap that he was doing for 4 years, is really now telling him, you need to call somebody. Pence, in prefaces, that's not a good guy either. Pence is calling people to say, hey, you need to get somebody down here to do something. What is the response from Trump's camp? No, we got to make sure people don't think that Pence is the one in charge. We got to make sure that Trump is in charge. We have to give that look, that image, that Pence is not calling the shots as his life is on the line. Because you got to remember something. Trump is safe. I want y'all to make that perfectly clear. Trump is safe in his house. Or where he at? In his office. He cool. He got phone calls that's coming, and I guarantee you, I don't know this for sure, but we've been doing this for a while now. Trump ain't picked up one damn phone. This is from people telling him, hey, they said that you need to call somebody. Look at them doing what I asked them to do. Look at them. Those my people. I love them so much. Yeah, we really need to. We just got word that Pence is calling people. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and put a stop to that. I'm the one in charge. I want people to think that I'm weak. Y'all need to go ahead and put a stop. Me, my image look bad by making it seem like the only people that care about what's going on, i.e., the one person whose life is literally on the line, is not in charge of this situation. That's Trump's thought process. That's Trump's thoughts. Has nothing to do with lives, nothing to do with damage, has nothing to do with country, has nothing to do with any of that stuff. It has completely everything to do with my image needs to be protected. You need to put a stop to this.
I agree with everything you just said, and I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about a very important person in this story, Kamala Harris. See, Kamala Harris is vice president of these here United States of America, and she catches a lot of flack for being absent, silent, or not doing anything. Now, if you look and think about it, to the best of my knowledge, at least going all the way back to Clinton, vice presidents have always been kept in the closet on a shelf somewhere, and they don't get to really say anything anyway. They're used for ceremonies pretty much exclusively. So here we have, and I'm tying this back, Mike Pence, vice president of the United States, in theory, the number 2 man in this country. And he can't even call the National Guard to come and respond to an event. Because so long as the president is active and in charge, the vice president has zero authority. So I just wanted to bring Kamala forward because I'm not a big fan of hers, but I am going to say stop all the Kamala hate out there, everybody, because she legit can't do nothing. There's nothing she can do. This dude had people trying to kill him. And the strongest decision he could make was, I'm not getting in that car. So that's all I want to say.
Well, we're going to move on to the last video because we're up on the hour. So I really wasn't even going to play any of the terrorist attack at all. But I had to play this because it had something from Trump in the middle of the attack that I just found so cringy and disgusting that you just have to see it.
Oh, I thought you were going to play the part of the guy reading the tweet aloud.
No, I want you to I wanted to emphasize that this guy, Trump, when I tell you there is a level of, sorry, Tracy. Yes, and I know it's my show, but I'm going to say I apologize anyway. There is a level of fuckedness that's only psychopaths can get to a level of, and this is it. If you can look at that film, and again, I don't want anybody to get desensitized because we done seen this over and over again. I want to put you in the level of this is live right here, right now. This is a live broadcast right here, right now. And this is that same guy that's looking at this broadcast right now. And I guarantee you, he has already said to himself, I'm going to tell everybody this was a peaceful protest. And this was all out of love. He ain't going to say love out of me. That would have been going too far. He was going to say, the reason I started this show, remember the catchphrase of starting this show was, because they was going to do it anyway. This is the example of it. He was going to say that anyway. You could have had bombs going off in that building. He was going to say it was peaceful protest.
Yep, never had any plans to call them military.
He was going to call it the way it was. No matter what you saw, no matter what happened, he's going to was calling it peaceful. He already had it in his head that it was peaceful.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a little piece off of what I heard Tim Black mention just recently. People aren't getting the news the same place that you're getting your news. They're not seeing the same things that you're seeing, right? So we're talking about a guy who we know ignored all of his military advisors. He ignored anyone who wasn't saying anything he didn't want to hear. He also only would be watching Fox and OAN. There's only two channels he would watch. You know, he was not watching the other ones unless they're talking about him specifically. Then he tunes in to hate watch. So on those channels, he probably was seeing the ones that we were showing where the people were like walking down the halls yelling, but no one was getting hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so he would focus on that because that part works to his benefit. The rest of that stuff, yeah, it's happening, but he doesn't have to acknowledge it if he doesn't want to. So that's that part. But then the other part is, I'm sorry, I gotta say it. That was a whole lot of white folk acting crazy. That was a whole lot of them, right? What should have happened?
Except for that one black dude.
Who's still in jail?
There was like 10 black people in the whole spot, right? And I'm rounding up.
So we gotta give it the big. So BLM.
But I reject that, right? Because if it's funny how it's like if you drop one chocolate drop in a bowl of milk, all of a sudden becomes chocolate milk, right? So look, that was a bunch of white folk, okay, and they attacked this country. They staged a terrorist attack, okay. They got other people who got swept up in the emotion and all that stuff. Cool, whatever. Cool. But if this had been, and I'm going to say it, I know we've all heard it plenty of times, but if this had been a Muslim group of people charging up them steps, if this had been black people, they don't even have to have Black Lives Matters. They just had to be black people coming up those steps. Well, the Rainbow Coalition may have gotten a little bit, they might have gotten close, but they would never act stupid like that. They got other ways that they do these things. But if that was happening, you would have had the first round, like at the little barriers, and they might have got through that. They would have got to the front steps and wrestled with the guards a little bit. That would have been about it.
That would have been
because
it.
Once you crossed that line,
you get shot.
There would have been people standing right there mowing them down.
I'll just go make a pushback on one little statement that you said, Theo. Just one. And it's a small one. But I've been in this country and I done seen too much. If it was black folks, Latinos, Native Americans, anybody other than white folks, they ain't making it to them stairs.
They wouldn't. Thank you.
As soon as they cross the threshold of the barriers in the front,
you'd have been tear gas and all that good stuff.
You done gave them a step too much.
You ain't making it to them stairs. I'm sorry.
They couldn't make it towards the protest that they had pre going to the Capitol.
Here's why I say this, okay? Because I think that it's important to not just look at it from our cynical view, but also look at facts and just events of the past. We have not seen where they just lower their arms and fire directly into a crowd who are black people. We ain't seen that. Not since the 1920s or so. So we can't say that the moment they got through the first barrier, immediately they would have been shot. We can suppose it may have happened, but we haven't seen something like that. What we have seen, though, is the moment you get past your first barrier, or even if most times, even at the first barrier, there's already smoke, water cannons, sirens, riot guards, all of that stuff. If it had been Barack Obama, well, no, not him, because he ain't got none. if there had been Minister Farrakhan having a rally at the Ellipse, and you notice Farrakhan has had 200 men or whatever the Million Man March. He's had 2 of those, and no problems. Guarantee you still would have had riot guard waiting.
Obviously, yes.
So I take it back to them some white folk acting crazy. That's why I watched it and I was just like, this is white supremacy white supremacy is attacking white privilege. And white privilege couldn't figure out what the hell to do with white supremacy. And there we go. That's why this has been so slow, in my opinion. But
to be honest with you, just to piggyback on that, Theus, don't all of a sudden forget that picture of when they said that Black Lives Matter, whatever, was going to protest in Washington, D.C. And all those armed guards
on the
at
steps.
The Washington Monument, or was it the Lincoln Monument? One of those two. All that picture of them armed to the teeth.
Those are the Capitol steps.
They can be ready.
That's just the one I'm thinking about. It's the Capitol steps. They were literally on the Capitol steps, dressed all in black and riot gear, waiting.
Yep, but they couldn't wait for that. I wonder why.
Because white privilege didn't think that would happen. Even though they had snitches, they had everybody telling you, "Hey, this is happening."
They planned this out in the open.
And I tell y'all, this is so funny that this is for. I'm laughing now because I can honestly laugh about it now. I wasn't laughing earlier.
I was.
Give you an honest assessment. I wasn't laughing earlier when I said this because it kind of just pissed me off. Now it's just funny as crap to me. These same people who was doing this for the Americans, and you're patriotic, and we're doing this for the American people, is the same ones who took the American flag down and put up a Trump flag.
Sure
did. And were beating the police with flags.
Are the people who did that.
Yep, they beat them police with that pole so hard. I'm like,
but if you look at American history, what they did on January 6th is more patriotic than anything that you have seen from, say, black resistance groups. Because the American history has proven that when it's time to resist and stand up for what you think is right, you use force. America has never not used force when it rose up. It's only been for those of us who are oppressed to not use force because we're so outnumbered, we don't want to all get killed.
Well,
that was the Boston Tea Party 2020.
To all my podcasters who's listening to the show, this is our first hour in which we will be taking a small 30-minute break.
30?
We will return
30 minutes?
30 minutes?
33 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay, I was going to say 30. I got to go to work tomorrow.
I might not be back after 30 minutes.
30 minutes. This is the part of the show where we take our 3-minute break. For those who want to watch the second half, you're going to have to go to YouTube.com/Radical Truth to Power to see the second half. For everybody that's on here right now, please stay tuned. For our podcasters, I appreciate you coming to listen to our show. Thank you very much for listening to our show, and we'll see you next time. For everybody else, please stay tuned, and we'll see you very, very soon.
I could take a break from this world. Running on a hamster wheel, but searching for something I can't feel. I just wanna be a lost girl and fly. Take a breath, feel my wings spread, levitate above the ground and make eye contact with clouds. Now I'm rising. I'm might lose my spark. Living in this crazy time, putting back the pieces of my mind. I know how to run from the dark and fly. Till my wings spread, levitate into the clouds. I'm so high above the ground. I'm rising. I'm soaring above it. It all. I just wanna be free. Finally, I wanna be free. I wanna be free. Finally, I wanna be free. Higher to a bird. You, I'm rising. I'm soaring above it. It all. I just wanna be free. I wanna be free. I wanna be free. I wanna be free.
I really hate that y'all don't get to see what I see with Anna on the other end, just really enjoying herself on like every song. So now she's got to the point where the Radical Truth to Power thing coming on, and now she's playing the drums. So it's like, I wish y'all could see it. Da, 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 do, 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 da, da. Anyway, welcome back to Radical Truth, the Power of Aggressive News Show on SBS3. This is our second hour. This, for some reason, is on mute. So we're going to go ahead and get into our second hour, but let's go ahead and pay these bills first before we even move forward. Please don't forget to go to Tracy Media LLC's Patreon. Please help support her. Please go ahead and go to Patreon.com/Complex Mind to really help support Thea's and all of his causes. Please do not forget to go to Anna's little website to help support her and all her causes. And please do not forget to go to Patreon.com/Radical Truth to Power and help support this show so I can actually finally one day actually pay these fine people for taking the time out of their busy day, especially Tracy, who is really taking time out of this week to come and help us do what we do. So just to let you know, Tracy, I really appreciate it. I know how tired you are this week, so I appreciate you helping.
Oh no, I didn't have any shows this week.
No, because you was doing something else.
It was Vacation Bible School week.
Yeah, I've been to those things. Those things ain't like no hop, skipping, and jump. Those things are all righty. Let me see how much homework I can do before I got to leave for the rest of the night.
Oh, it was fun. It was always fun.
So we're gonna go ahead and jump into the second hour. We ended off with the situation, the attack, the riot, however you want to put it. Don't care. And in the first hour, we did discuss that these were the same people. I can't remember which one you are. I apologize. That these are the same people who was Blue Lives Matter, more funding for the cops,
obey the law.
You know,
They
They
wouldn't
put
hit you if
their
you wasn't
lives on the
resisting.
lines every day. These people.
Yep.
So we're going to get into a straight up. I think her name is Officer Kelly. I apologize if I can't remember the first name. Have to do better with that. At least show respect for people who I actually want to show respect for. Who's given her um, first hand view of what happened when they first decided to attack
this evening with the committee and the American public. Please, your microphone.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate it, and thank you to the committee for having me here to testify. I was called a lot of things on January 6, 2021, and the days thereafter. I was called Nancy Pelosi's dog, called incompetent, called a hero, and a villain. I was called a traitor to my country, my oath, and my Constitution. In actuality, I was none of those things. I was an American, standing face to face with other Americans, asking myself how many times, many times, how we had gotten here. I had been called names before, but never had my patriotism or duty been called into question. I, who got up every day, no matter how early the hour or how late I got in the night before, to put on my uniform and to protect America's symbol of democracy. I, who spent countless hours in the baking sun and freezing snow to make sure that America's elected officials were able to do their job. I, whose literal blood, sweat, and tears were shed that day defending the building that I spent countless holidays and weekends working in. I am the proud granddaughter of a Marine that fought in the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir in the Korean War. I think of my papa often in these days, how he was so young and thrown into a battle he never saw coming and answered the call at a great personal cost. How he lived the rest of his days with bullets and shrapnel in his legs, but never once complained about his sacrifice. I would like to think that he would be proud of me. Proud of his granddaughter that stood her ground that day and continued fighting, even though she was wounded, like he did many years ago. I am my grandfather's granddaughter, proud to put on a uniform and serve my country. They dared to question my honor. They dared to question my loyalty. And they dared to question my duty. I am a proud American, and I will gladly sacrifice everything to make sure that the America my grandfather defended is here for many years to come. Thank you.
So right there, and this brings me back to, again, I apologize, I can't remember the guy's name, but it brings me back to that one Capitol Police policeman who was confronted by one of these attackers. And I don't know if he was an attacker eventually, but I'm just telling you what I remember. Who asked him point blank, which side are you on? Now you can see that he's in uniform. He's a cop. Blue Lives Matter, the whole blah, 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 and everything else. Yet still, after all of that, he's still asking him, which side are you on? So the Blue Lives Matter thing and putting their lives on the line and everything else is cute, catchy phrase. You try to degrade Black Lives Matter in a way, so that was your point to begin with. But you still wanted to make sure that cops are on the side of destruction. And don't get it twisted. I really don't want you to get it twisted. I've said before, I said again, I don't trust cops to begin with anyway. Either you're the ones that's doing the damage or you the ones that know who's the ones that's doing the damage and you ain't doing nothing about it. So I'm going to put that out right there. But still, these people assuming that no matter what they do, no matter what destruction they make, no matter how many people they hurt, no matter how many laws that they're breaking, no matter how much they are doing to just fundamentally attack this country, they're still questioning which side are you on.
Because they're between them and the thing they want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's it.
There's
no thought behind it.
Go ahead, Anna.
Hadn't really. There's no thought behind it. That's the whole point. It doesn't matter who's in front of them. Hey, you friend or foe? Because I don't have the time to look at all the little symbols that you're gonna give me. No.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, because I agree with you. And that was one of the points I was going to raise. If you're going to, first of all, you said they're on the side of destruction, but in their mind, they're not. So that's a different viewpoint. So when they're going in it, and personally, I think that that's a logical question for anyone to ask when they're going into battle where people aren't necessarily wearing their uniforms, right? Because they have police officers embedded. They have police officers who are with them in the crowd. They even had police officers who were sympathetic that were on the force. So what side are you on so I don't make a mistake and harm you when you're sympathetic to what I'm trying to do anyway? That's logical. Like, and as I say, the path to freedom will be cut through your own kind. So like if we're involved in trying to work towards the advancement of Black people and working class people, there are going to be people who on the surface align with you, but they may very well be your opposition. So you ask, are you friend or are you foe? And then you make your decision from there. So to me, that part is pretty logical. The part that's most problematic here is the sheer amount of military trained and law enforcement personnel that were on that side. That's the problem.
Well, the deal is one little pushback on it. The deal is they knew there was going to be destruction. They recognized that it was going to be destruction. That question was to pretty much question, are you going to be in our way?
Yeah.
Are you going to be in our way of what we know what we are fit to do?
But where I'm going to hang on the word on is destruction, because destruction is a word that is very impartial. If you are standing up or fighting against something, destruction will happen, right? So you don't view it as destruction. It's just the consequences of battle. Like when people rise up after someone is murdered by these police, state sanctioned murders by a police officer, and the local community rises up and burns the stuff to the ground, that's destruction. And I personally am okay with it. I'm not saying go do it. I'm saying I'm okay with it. These people are on the opposite side of me, and they're saying, I am going to fight to save my country. And so whatever destruction follows, just follow.
It is what it is.
I totally agree with you, because these are the same people, after seeing all that happened, is still being very concerned about that poor little Target building that got burnt down. That thing, that's worse.
There's somebody getting killed.
That guarantee has already been fucking rebuilt.
Was also insured and everything else. But in America, that's a slightly different conversation, but it's a very important one. We have to look at the tape, and the tape will show you that property is always worth more than a black life.
Yeah.
The exchange value on black life is horrible.
What's not in this country? I'm sorry. What's not in this country more important?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, everything was put above
Black lives.
Yeah, everything is put above.
Everything is, but I mean, I'm not trying to be too abstract because I need people to focus on what I want them to focus on, and what I want them to focus on is the exchange rate on black life. So animals are more important.
Animals.
Your ability to kill people is more important.
Europeans.
Your ability to feel superior to other people is more important. Your ability to keep others out of your country. Any and everything does line up above black life. And I'm saying that exchange rate is not okay. And we need to improve that. So either they need to bring down, like as they say, you can lower the roof or you can raise the floor. I don't care which way you go. You need to fix something, right? Make us all white or make us all black. And that'll solve everybody in the middle. But so long as we got these two different Americas for different people, eventually this exchange rate is going to crash and this all hell's going to break loose.
Well, we got somebody who happens to be out there doing documentation during this situation.
Oh, before you pivot, that lady, the officer, I think she was the best witness out of all the rest of them that they had shown.
Oh, we're not done with her yet. She's coming back.
Oh.
She's literally going to go into detail about what the situation occurred.
Oh.
To her. Sorry, but to her. But we have a documenter that was on the field at the time during this situation. I put him in because I'm so struck by the fact that I'm pretty sure, I'm at least 99% sure. That's how far I'm going to get. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure, that he didn't think it was going to go as far as it did. I know some of these people. I even dealt with some of these people who hope that something flamboyant, crazy, whatever happened. It makes their product look better. That's why they show up to these situations. That's why they show up to protests. That's why they show up to marches. That's why they show up to things like this. Just in case on a whim something greatly happened. This is his account of what happened that day.
It was your story and your service is important. And I thank you for being here tonight. Ms. Quickstead, I also like to ask you to introduce yourself. Can you tell us how you found yourself in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021?
Good evening, Chair and Madam Vice Chair. Thank you for the introduction. As stated in the winter of 2020, I was working on a documentary. As part of that documentary, I filmed several rallies in Washington, D.C. on December the 11th and December the 12th. And I learned there would be a rally on the Mall on January 6th. So my three colleagues and I came down to document the rally. According to the permit of the event, there was going to be a rally at the Ellipse. We arrived at the Mall and observed a large contingent of Proud Boys marching towards the Capitol. We filmed them, and almost immediately I was separated from my colleagues. I documented the crowd turn from protesters to rioters to insurrectionists. I was surprised at the size of the group, the anger and the profanity. And for anyone who didn't understand how violent that event was, I saw it, I documented it, and I experienced it. I heard incredibly aggressive chanting, and I subsequently shared that footage with the authorities. I'm here today pursuant to a House subpoena. Thank you so
So that's the document. That's the person who filmed the whole situation. Once again, and it's just my belief. It's one of those situations where watch what you ask for because you just might get it. He was taken off. You to me, he didn't see this coming. There was no way he saw this coming in a million years. And
You
it
don't
is
think so?
nothing more fearful than being. And I grew up in the hood, so maybe I'm the only one who actually experienced this. There is nothing more fearful than being with your group of friends and or family. Something pops off and you're separated from them.
Yeah.
It's the scariest freaking moment you have ever felt in your life. You don't know if you gonna make it, and at the same time, you're praying that they do too. At the same damn time. It is scary. You don't know where your mind is going. You're trying to keep yourself safe. At the same time, you try to get with your people to make sure that they safe.
Yeah.
It is. I experienced it twice. I don't ever want to go through something like that again. Don't ask me to go out. Not going. As eventually I go on a cruise, but whatever. If something pop off on a cruise, I'll just throw somebody a drink or something and they'll leave me alone. But at that point in time, when I was younger, it is you feel scared, you feel useless because you can't get to your people. You really feel like if something happens, it's your fault. And in the end, when you find your people, you still want to just get the hell up out of there as fast as you can. You'll catch the news later. Rumors, whatever. I don't care. I just want to go. I gotta go. Everybody's safe. We got a head count. Cool. We out. I feel for this dude. I'm actually going by what he's saying, of course. I don't know how many times he's gone through this. Maybe he's used to it. I don't know. So I'm taking an account of this story right here. That, if you never experienced, is the worst feeling you could ever feel. So, nope, because Diaz is going to say something terrible. I totally disagree. Fuck them. I know. We're going to move on. We're going to move on.
You ain't never heard me say that about nobody, but I really don't give a damn about him, though.
I know. I know.
Before we move on, sorry, the one thing that I really took away was how much the Proud Boys were not with the crowd. And I don't want to get too far ahead if Marlon's got video coming up, but like they're not going to wait for Trump's speech. No, we have a job.
No, I do got a video. Is the next couple of videos is like really digging deep into how deep this went.
But I still think he probably had the documentarian had some kind of a clue he had been with the Proud Boys. He had been documenting exactly
Yep, he knew what they were
who
about.
these people are. Exactly.
And you know what, Anna?
And he chose that time to be involved.
Yep.
And the funny thing about it is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because this is where I put him in a certain category. And I put him in a certain category of the same people who write this tell-all books on Trump. I don't need you to tell me bullshit after the fact. And that's what he was.
Well, he literally said, I'm here because I got a subpoena.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally just said, like, I felt no sympathy for him. I'm like, he literally said, I'm here because of a subpoena.
And he felt it was important to let us know that one of the worst things was not being able to get a nice hotel room.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, compassion. I ain't got nothing.
I try to be compassionate, but
I don't have you.
You said you had some compassion.
That's not to take away from the fear that he felt.
Yeah.
But he knew who the Proud Boys was. It wasn't like he was just all like, I can't believe they're doing this.
And I guarantee you the people who were with the Proud Boys, they were scared too. They were still going with what they were doing, but they were scared. Who ain't scared in those situations?
But like I said, I still put them in the same category as the people who write these tell-all books. I'm sorry. I'm not separating you two. You knew the bullshit was going on. You did nothing about it. You kept your mouth shut, and then you want to try to profit from it. So fuck you. I'm sorry. You knew what was going on. I'm sorry that you don't think I feel sorry for your little ass now. I don't. Boo-hoo. I don't care.
Yeah, he could have messed me with. He could have just kept his mouth shut. Just showed the video.
I can't care for you right now. Was you scared at that time? Fantastic. I truly apologize that you were scared at that moment. I unapologize that you still didn't say shit.
He did turn it over to the authorities. I'll give him credit for that. But dang,
I mean, what else could he do? I mean, really?
Right.
No. Let's be real, because I don't like this dude. I don't like this dude, and I don't like him because he came across as a self-serving prick. But in the
tell us don't tell us what you really think. I
was trying to hold back. So,
sarcasm.
But what he did though is he was embedded. He's a documentarian, so he's embedded with these people. They hadn't done anything yet except for planning and all that stuff, which he may not even have privy to, but they were definitely the topic of discussion for more than a year at this point. Because remember what happened in Michigan and all that stuff, right? So he's following them. He goes to this thing. This is presidential speech. They're going down there. He's riding with them. And then he sees it go completely left. And then he turns over the recording. What else could he do? Now, that's where my positive impression of him ends.
Yeah, because
up to that point, there's nothing else he could have done. He
couldn't get a hotel room.
Yeah, he had to go stay at like Motel 6 or something.
I'm like, dude, shut up.
They didn't even put a mint on my pillow.
Oh, that one.
Well, I hope he got a red infested. Anyway, so let's move on to the players of this whole situation.
Oh, do we have to?
My name is Marcus Childress, and I'm an investigative counsel for the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white supremacists
and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by.
After he made this comment, Enrique Terrio, then chairman of the Proud Boys, said on Parler, "Standing by, sir." During our investigation, we learned that this comment during the presidential debate actually led to an increase in membership from the Proud Boys.
Would you say that Proud Boys numbers increased after the stand back, stand by comment?
Exponentially. I'd say tripled probably, with the potential for a lot more eventually.
And did you ever sell any stand back and stand by merchandise?
One of the vendors on my page actually beat me to it, but I wish I would have made a stand back, stand by shirt.
On December 19th, President Trump tweeted about the January 6th rally and told attendees, "Be there, we'll be wild." Many of the witnesses that we interviewed were inspired by the president's call and came to D.C. for January 6th. But the extremists, they took it a step further. They viewed this tweet as a call to arms. A day later, the Department of Justice describes how the Proud Boys created a chat called the Ministry of Self-Defense Leadership Chat. In this chat, the Proud Boys established a command structure in anticipation of coming back to D.C. on January 6th. The Department of Justice describes Mr. Tarrio coming into possession of a document called the 1776 Returns, which describes individuals occupying key buildings around the United States Capitol. The Oath Keepers are another group that the committee investigated.
You better get your ass to D.C., folks, this Saturday.
Yeah, if you don't, there'll be no more Republic. But we're not going to let that happen. It's not even an if. It's either President Trump is encouraged and bolstered and strengthened to do what he must do, or we wind up in a bloody fight. We all know that. The fight's coming.
The Oath Keepers began planning to block the peaceful transfer of power shortly after the November 3rd election. And according to the Department of Justice, Stuart Rhodes, the Oath Keepers leader, said to his followers that we were not going to get through this without a civil war. In response to the December 19th, 2020 tweet by President Trump, the Oath Keepers focused on January 6th in Washington, D.C. In response to the tweet, one member, the president of the Florida chapter, put on social media, "The president called us to the Capitol. He wants us to make it wild." The goal was for the Oath Keepers to be called to duty so that they could keep the president in power, although President Trump had just lost the election.
Want to make something perfectly clear here. Those little screeches and everything that you heard in the middle of it, that wasn't me. I apologize that my production of all those screeches and everything is a little higher than Washington, D.C. But apparently it is. That's not on me.
Yeah, I was going to drag you for that, sir.
Yeah,
You know what? As sarcastic as you try to make it, yeah, you would have.
No, I am just appalled that that would happen.
But
I got a question. I have a question. Do I get to throw up now or do I have to wait later? Because the Proud Boys literally make me want to vomit.
That dude, and what was so funny about him is
I should have stole the merchandise. Oh.
He's talking like he's holding like a conversation at a dinner table or something. What about boys got to it first? I would have got them t-shirts.
Yeah, I wish I had.
Now, quicker, but what about boys got to it first? So, you know.
I'm surprised he even testified. I thought he was going to be one of them ones that was like, nope, I'm taking the fifth.
He has to testify. He's a federal informant.
Of course he is now.
No, he was at the beginning. He's always been embedded as an informant. He's a CIA informant. So, FBI informant. So they've known where he was, what he was doing this whole time. But you got to understand, the way our criminal system works, we will allow you to continue to be a criminal, provided that you're giving us information. So he had to.
I wish I had thought about selling t-shirts. Shut up.
This was terrifying to me, this part, to see how organized they are, to see how motivated they are by one tweet, by one passage on a radio station. More so than anything Trump said, this scared me.
It didn't
The white
scare
supremacists
me.
are
they're for real.
Hella organized, yeah.
Well, okay, so here's a couple things that I think is really important for people to keep in mind. These supremacist organizations and these militias, there's a reason why the FBI finally acknowledged during Obama's presidency that they have a supremacist issue in the law enforcement and military community. There's a reason why, if anyone remembers, there was maybe 1, possibly 2 years ago, where it was disclosed that the SEAL units were having trouble with supremacist ideology. So these are some of your most elite trained killers. These are force multipliers, okay? This is, you can send one person to do the damage that 10 people can do. These are people who are raised up and then sent off to the military to get the training to then come back. And then they take up their position in the organization to train and multiply out that way as well. So these are not just your rubes sitting in the garage cracking a six-pack. There's a lot of them too. But at the core of it are very disciplined, intelligent, well-trained operators.
Yep.
And so Trump doesn't give them their instructions. Trump gives them cues that they can use to organize around. So when he says stand back, stand by, from their internal culture, that is a cue that says he did not condemn us. He did not say we had to stop. He just said wait for further direction. And that's how they function.
But that's pretty much what he did.
And that's exactly what they did. And then they continued their planning. And I still point this back to that old Bannon guy that he looks like a corpse, but that old Bannon guy who's sitting there and he's telling you, these are the things we're gonna do. So
that old left eye just anyway. So here's now that situation going into action.
The committee learned that the Oath Keepers set up quick reaction forces outside of the city in Virginia where they stored arms. The goal of these quick reaction forces was to be on standby just in case President Trump invoked the Insurrection Act.
Did the Oath Keepers ever provide weapons to members?
I'm going to decline to answer that and put them at grounds for due process grounds.
In footage obtained by the committee, we learned that on the night of January 5th, Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes met in a parking garage in Washington, D.C.
There's mutual respect there. I think we're fighting the same fight, and I think that's what's important.
The committee learned that the Oath Keepers went into the Capitol through the east doors in two stack formations. The DOJ alleges that one of the stacks went into the Capitol looking for Speaker Pelosi, although they never found her. As the attack was unfolding, Mr. Tarrio took credit. In documents obtained by the Department of Justice, Mr. Tarrio said in an encrypted chat, "Make no mistake, and we did this." Later on that evening, Mr. Tarrio even posted a video which seemed to resemble him in front of the Capitol with a black cape, and the title of the video was Premonition. The evidence developed by the Select Committee and the Department of Justice highlights how each group participated on the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. In fact, the investigation revealed that it was individuals associated with the Proud Boys who instigated the initial breach at the Peace Circle at 12:53 p.m. Within 10 minutes, rioters had already filled the Lower West Plaza. By 2 o'clock, rioters had reached the doors on the West and the East plazas. And by 2:13, rioters had actually broken through the Senate wing door and gotten into the Capitol building. A series of breaches followed. At 2:25 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors to the Rotunda. And then right after 2:40 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors near the Ways and Means room. Once the rioters infiltrated the Capitol, they moved through the crypt, the rotunda, the hallways leading to the House chambers, and even inside the Senate chambers.
Yeah, so we know now that the Proud Boys and the other groups are bad people.
Yep, like I said, they're not telling me anything I didn't know.
Let me ask you this question. When did you know?
When did I know what? That white supremacist organizations were bad?
Or you mean white supremacist organizations had a hand in planning this?
Both.
Well, I've known white supremacists.
Well, I'll take away the white supremacists.
Yeah, I'm going to say, we've known they were terrible for a long time.
Sorry, they were bad, disorganized.
I mean, you go back to the Unite the Right rally, was the first time that they went on full display.
Yeah.
And they had been making rumblings before that. And then they followed it with the threats against Governor Gretchen Whitmer, whatever, how you say her last name, and the planned abduction of her.
Yeah.
So, and then you have Dylan Roof, who was tied to a militia that also has white supremacist roots, even though they want to, like, they said it and then they moved right on past it and didn't bring it back up anymore. So, yeah, I see personally, and this could be, you know, we all have our own ways of looking at things, but to me, it's all related and tied together. So I'm not overly. I don't know.
Yeah,
Plus, also remember this whole attack. I was just like, this is bad, but
it really didn't change my life. I'm like, oh.
I want to keep everybody to understand this. We are at a level where none of these things surprise us. There are going to be people who this does surprise.
People who don't pay a lot of attention.
They're not the people who's going to look into this, and this is my opinion. These people did not know how deep this ran. They just did. Bad or unbad, they should have did their research. They'll come on, this has been going on for a while, blah, blah. Yeah, I get it. But we're entwined into this.
No, I get it, bro. This is stuff that we actually pay a lot of attention to.
Yes.
Everybody doesn't do that. So that's who the audience for these things is, not us. We're not the audience.
Yeah.
We've already made up our decisions, right? Just like the people who are deep in Fox world, not the audience. They've already made up their decision. They're trying to get the people who just don't pay a lot of attention. That's what they want.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
But I do pay attention. So yeah, I'm not shocked.
Yeah, it really doesn't surprise me. I'm surprised that it didn't happen soon. That's what I'm surprised about.
Yeah. I personally, I apologize. I was personally the one person that didn't know it was this organized.
I didn't know either.
They have to be.
I didn't.
But I think a big part of that, and this is part of what we were talking about a moment ago, Anna, is people tend to sell their opposition short.
Yep.
And if you are just a type of person, or you just are at that particular point in your understanding or how you just function, that you think whoever is against you is not as intelligent as you are, or better yet, that whoever you're against is more intelligent than you are, that's why you lose. You know, that's why we keep losing left and right, stuff that we shouldn't lose, because we keep underestimating people. Personally, if I consider you to be my opposition, I consider you to be smarter than me, because that makes me have to work harder. But that's not the default position. The default position is I'm right. I am coming from the place of good, and these people are evil, and they're stupid. Well, that's not a good way to go, because they've been thinking at this a lot longer than you have.
Yeah.
So, you know, they've been working hard since Obama was inaugurated.
Oh, shoot,
right?
when he ran.
When he became a viable contender.
Yeah, they was like, okay,
they started ramping up. When he got the ever since 2007 is when the Republican Party went from, they were already crazy under Bush, but they started going really hard come around 2008, 2009. And they've been working hard ever since. And they've really been working hard since 1970, whenever it was, you know. So they've been working at this for 2 generations. Meanwhile, we just started looking at this like 5 years ago.
Yeah, 20 minutes ago. It's like, oh, what?
I honestly, their name came on my radar when it was Governor Whitmer's, the attempt at taking her. That's the first time I heard of them.
Well, that's because we weren't getting names, right? So Proud Boys, Boogaloo Boys, Oath Keepers, Five Percenters, that's a handful of names. But there are multiple militias in every state.
Yep.
So when you look at the Second Amendment is pretty clear in that it's saying a well-regulated militia, right? So that
Militia.
you basically
Yeah.
can defend. This is written back in the day where you didn't have a very strong federal government, but they were afraid of the monarchy that they had recently had. So they wanted to make sure that the states, which is why we're a republic, right? So the states have more power than the federal government. So you needed to have militias so that you could defend your state from an out of control federal government. Then we end up getting the Army National Guard. Well, the
Right.
National Guard is under the control of the governor. That is your well-regulated militia.
Mhm.
But they never gave up on the language because they wanted that, because it was also built off of their fear of recently freed Black people becoming armed and fighting back against
Fighting
the
back
people
against
that had
them.
oppressed them. So
Mhm.
these people have been working in this going all the way back. So we're not dealing with just these 5 groups that keep getting
No.
named. There are groups everywhere, and most of them call themselves gun clubs. So it's way worse than people think. That's why when people get talking that revolutionary talk and they don't understand what revolution really entails, I push back at them a little bit, because you just got yourself 2 guns and 5 magazines of ammunition. That's what you got. And you think you're gonna fight who? You're gonna fight somebody who has armed his entire family and taught his child how to
Yeah.
hunt since he was 5 years old, that can shoot somebody from 500 yards away. You can't shoot somebody 20 feet away, but they can shoot 5 football fields away. So it's bad. Oh, it's real bad. Sorry, Mom.
Oh, okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the original officer, and this is what happened at the first line of defense. Only reason I'm showing you this is because literally this is the first line of defense. If it's this bad at the first line of defense, how do you think the rest of it's gonna go?
There were about, I want to say about 5 of us on that line. And there was our bike rack, and then at the bottom of the Pennsylvania Avenue walkway, or right by Peace Circle, there was another bike rack. And so the crowd had kind of gathered there. It was the crowd led by Joseph Biggs, and they were mostly in civilian clothes. There were some who had military fatigues on. We could see people with bulletproof vests on, things like that. They didn't seem, extremely cohesive, but they had gathered there in their outfits, but they had gathered there together, and Joseph Biggs started. He had a megaphone, and he started talking about, first it was things kind of relating to Congress, and then the tables started turning once the, what is now the Arizona group is what you said, the crowd with orange hats, they came up chanting F-U-C-K, Antifa, and they joined that group. And once they joined that group, Joseph Biggs' rhetoric turned to the Capitol Police. He started asking us questions like, you didn't miss a paycheck during the pandemic. mentioning stuff about our pay scale was mentioned, and started turning the tables on us. And I've worked, I can conservatively say probably hundreds of civil disturbance events. I know when I'm being turned into a villain, and that's when I turned to my sergeant and I stated the understatement of the century. I said, Sarge, I think we're going to need a few more people down here. And so after that, I think they started conferring. They went a little silent. They started conferring among each other. I saw the person now identified as Ryan Samsel. He put his arm around Joseph Biggs, and they were talking, and then they started approaching the first barricade. They ripped the first barricade down, and they approached our bike racks. At that time, we started holding on, grabbing the bike racks. There weren't many of us, so I grabbed the middle between two different bike racks. And, I wasn't under any pretense that I could hold it for very long, but I just wanted to, make sure that we could get more people down and get our CDU units time to answer the call. So we started grappling over the bike racks. I felt the bike rack come on top of my head, and I was pushed backwards, and my foot caught the stair behind me, and my chin hit the handrail, and then at that point I had blacked out, but the back of my head clipped the concrete stairs behind me.
And you.
Oh.
So again, just to repeat what I said before I even left, that was the first line of defense. It wasn't going to get any better from here on. It ain't like these people was going to grow a moral standard and go, I think we've gone too far. No. This was a blatant disregard for anything other than the plan has to be executed, no matter what. They don't care. Go ahead, Tracy. Anna.
If they had somebody who was able to tell them there are X amount of people who are coming from this direction and they will make it in X amount of minutes, why were there not more people there?
Because Trump they were already at that time saying, hey, you need to do something, calling the military, and he just utterly refused to do it.
They didn't have more people staged because they didn't view it to be a threat.
Thank you.
That too.
Thank you.
That's all it came down to.
That literally boils down to everything that takes that.
Yep, these are white people. They will never do anything.
White privilege, supremacy, privilege, however you want to put it, was not seen as a threat.
Well, white people are never seen as a threat, even when they have guns.
Yep.
So there is this deep-seated thought that because they are, people take umbrage to me using the word white so often, but I'm like, I use black a lot. It's just a descriptive term. But in America, it's assumed that white people are naturally more rational. So that's why you have in your history where you have an all-white jury, no matter who the defendant was, because white people are considered to be able to be impartial and rational, and you can speak to them. You can get through to them. That's why your law enforcement officers are overwhelmingly white. That's why that when they go to court, they're supposed to be above reproach. There's no way that they will lie to you. So when they have a rally coming and the people who support Donald Trump are overwhelmingly white, overwhelmingly middle-aged, overwhelmingly right Republican, because there's some independents wandering around out there. So they're not considered by their nature to be a threat. Whereas black, brown, aggrieved groups, actual aggrieved groups, are considered a threat by their nature because they are aggrieved. So they just didn't have as many people on staff. But the thing that also gets me though is I don't know this for a fact, but I am so positive. Congress has a ready action force there. Okay? Because there's no way we would have some of the most important people in our government with just regular Capitol Police.
Thank
you. They have some highly trained, ready force people there, and they were not given the green light to engage.
There is a group.
Okay.
And I think I said this before. Bo, and apparently Bo's nuts that we swing from.
Did I hurt your feelings when I said that? Did that bother you?
That bothered me. I'm like, ooh. Wow. I don't even know who Bo is. I'm like,
wow.
That's my last time.
I must have struck a nerve.
That's my last time saying that. But Bo said there is a group. And I had to check with my I had to check with some of my boys who's still in the military. And they did confirm it that this group exists. Were they there? Obviously, they're not going to tell me. But they said it does exist, which is my only question. There's a group whose fundamental mission is to, let me say this in a way so I don't get demonetized.
It might be too late for that, bro.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Probably. Their mission is to lay waste. That's their job. That's literally their job. So I think that's what Thieves was talking about. There was a group, and they was seconds from being called in. In other words, we have that group that want to talk people down and talk and let's civilize and arrest people, but not this group. That's not their mission. That's not what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're not going to even hold a conversation with you. That's my point.
The next two levels of succession were in that building.
Yeah.
You had the vice president and the speaker of the house. Yeah. If they had been in a situation where they could not get those two out of that building, I'm positive that ready action group would have had to been called in.
But they
got them out.
And I'm telling you now, this would have been a totally different Fox-fueled story. This group that was told to me, that's their mission, period, is nobody is walking out.
Yeah, they're the final line.
But them.
Yeah, they're the final line of defense.
That's it.
You had Secret Service there. You had the actual more elite group of defense that was there, and they did their jobs, right? They're the ones who barred off the area. They're the ones who made sure that the protesters or the terrorists or whatever you want to call them, they could not make it to the floor until all of those Congress people were out. Okay? So if you notice, they had the time to get them out of that out of their chambers, out of their offices, and get them into them tunnels. Only then were those people able to get into the actual chambers. That's why when that woman climbed through the window and caught a hot one, that's because it wasn't ready yet. But once they were able to secure the area, there was not going to be a situation where they could put their hands on Pelosi or on another one of the members. Then they're able to let them in because they can come back and arrest them later.
So we're going to move on. And if y'all believe this or not, the last video of the night. Yay!
Hey, can I ask you a question real
Wow.
quick? Tracy, is that a new couch?
I changed locations. I'm not in my bedroom anymore. I'm in my living room.
Your bedroom has the mantle in it as well?
Yes.
Oh.
But
okay.
this one has a glass frame behind it. This couch is just blocking it.
So you have a mantle in your bedroom?
And in this room too. Yes.
Oh,
Fancy.
Cool.
I thought it was the same mantle. So
that is
no, because the
cool.
picture is totally different. You don't see the sanitizer.
I'm sorry, you got a mantle in your bedroom.
I figured you just redecorated a little bit.
Nope. We gonna be gone in a couple months, but you know, just saying.
Sound like a nice apartment, shoot.
Not for $850 rent, but hey, whatever.
You said how much?
How much?
$850.
Man, I roll with it.
You
I
gotta
roll
be kidding
with
me. I'll take that.
But it's all relative.
Wow.
And also my mortgage is less than that. But my rent before I moved here, and this was a decade ago, my rent was $1,100. So you can only imagine what that same apartment is renting for right now.
They can have it.
I can tell you.
And yeah, this couch is. I've had this couch for about 3 years. It's a let out, and it just gave out.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because of circumstances, the only thing we paying now is mortgage and bills. The cars are paid off.
Yeah, thank goodness my cars are paid off.
Oh,
and I don't have to have them in daycare no more.
Who again? So this is the last video of these people who's flat out telling you their motivation. Let's put it to you that way. Of why they did the terrorist attack.
To hear it from the rioters themselves. Without objection, I include in the record a video presentation.
What really made me want to come was the fact that, you know, I had supported Trump all that time. I did believe, you know, that the election was being stolen. And Trump asked us to come.
He personally asked for us to come to D.C. that day. And I thought, for everything he's done for us, if this is the only thing he's going to ask of me, I'll do it.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Did you recall President Trump mentioning going to the Capitol during his speech?
Oh, yeah. So that's one of my disappointments. He said he was going to go with us, that he was going to be there.
I know why I was there, and that's because he called me there, and he laid out what is happening in our government. He laid it out.
But I remember Donald Trump telling people to be there, right? I mean, to support.
So you mentioned that the president asked you. Do you remember a specific message?
Basically, yeah, he asked for us to come to D.C., that big things are going to happen.
What got me interested, he said, I have something very important to say on January 6th or something like that. Is what got me interested to be there.
You know, Trump has only asked me for two things. He asked me for my vote, and he asked me to come on January 6th.
These people, I mean, first of all, these people are all among us. You go to work with them, you socialize around them, you may not socialize with them. But they really, like, everybody's not operating with a full deck.
Oh.
Like, these people think that some guy on TV is speaking directly to them.
He only asked two things out of me: my vote and to come January.
And you know who
I laughed so hard at the fact that Trump has.
After all he did for us.
For me,
I'm like, what did he do?
That the only thing he asked for me was to storm the Capitol.
And break the law. Yep, that makes perfect sense. After all he's done.
These guys really, he is the law. I'm sorry, things. Hold on. These guys really literally look at storming the Capitol is the only thing he asks of me.
Could break the law and possibly get arrested and kill Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence.
Yeah, it's just one little thing. You know, he asked for
After all he's
a
done
Red
for us.
Bull and a terrorist attack.
And
The
some
only
Cheetos.
thing he asked for me is a pack of Newports, a bag of cigarettes. Oh, and then storm the Capitol.
It's just a kidnapping.
I mean, he just wanted me to hang Mike Pence and kill Nancy Pelosi.
Wouldn't you do that for your friend?
I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh,
child.
But that's what I'm saying. But these are real people. This is real people. This is not
logically. These people have jobs and children, and they go to our churches and our schools
Tracy,
and our.
These people got children.
They do though. That's the bad
thing. This type of ignorance always reproduces.
They always reproduce. They always, the worst of the worst, always are going to reproduce.
But what I really want, I hope this sinks in for anyone who sees this, is this isn't just what you're seeing on TV. It's not just what you're capturing in videos. These are real people. Real people. And they, at most, got probation. I was reading the sentences that these people were getting.
Saw that one.
Right?
Majority of them got probation.
Yep.
Right.
So nothing happens.
So not saying that these same people are going to do anything. This might have been enough for them to be like, yo, yeah, I'm good. But they're not alone. Nope. The mentality and the ideology runs deep. And yes, I do tie it back to the way America does its churches. It's not the fault of the church per se. It's not the fault of the faith. Because the faith is good. But anything that teaches you to blindly accept what you can't see, what you can't validate, and tells you not to question it, because if you question authority, then you don't believe in authority, you are just making a fertile ground for the wrong person to become groomed into just looking for the next
lead. They're the groomers.
And they won't challenge. They just will not challenge. He is Trump became their televangelist.
Yeah.
He has a direct line to God, because in the white evangelical Christian alt-right world thing, which is most of the evangelical church, they literally take the Bible and the Constitution and just ball it all up together.
Yep.
And they can't pull it apart. And then you get somebody like this who comes in and he's.
But after all he's done for us, if
right.
I couldn't
I have actually.
The funny thing about it, Tracy, I'm sorry, Anna. Let me say this real quick. The funny thing about it, Tracy, they're not lying when they say that.
No,
I know it sounds silly to us, but in their eyes, Trump probably did a whole bunch of shit for them.
I'm saying, like, what did
subconsciously, he did a whole bunch of stuff for them.
The thing that he did
was make it okay for them to be racist.
Well, it's not just racism. So I think that is also a big part of it. The word racist, I think, has lost almost all of its value because it gets used so often that even real racists are like, whatever, I'm not a racist. What Trump did was emotionally put that group back on top. He spoke to them the way that the slave owners would speak back in the day, where no matter how bad your life is, you're still better than that guy. So he was the one to say it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay, all this stuff. And the things that is supposed to be your birthright are being taken from you. He made all of that okay. And then you had the Fox machine with Tucker and them reinforcing that, creating it, because they created Trump. So he did that for them. Emotionally, he delivered. Now, did he bankrupt like half the farmers? Yep. Did he steal from the Veterans Fund? Yep. Did he abandon U.S. citizens in Puerto Rico and all across the West Coast? Yep. Did he decide to just let the red states burn with COVID? Yep. He did all of those things.
He did so much.
But emotionally, he put them back on top.
Matter, because all Trump did, this is a deep analogy. It really isn't. But this is a deep analogy of Trump just made it feel like the white supremacy groups don't have to be in that barn on that farm in the back holding meetings. They want you to move up to the front in people's homes, in people's stores, in people's living rooms, and told them it's okay for you to feel the way you feel.
I concur.
If that's all Trump really made you feel, you don't have to hide anymore. Not only do you not have to hide anymore, I concur that everything that you have felt for generations was correct.
Yo,
And
I
you
have
need
a
to fight for how you feel.
That's where he gets "Make America
I
White
have a
Again." Great
beautiful
again.
analogy that's kind of like that, but it's a little bit darker. Okay, so
Anybody shocked? Raise your hand. No? Okay.
okay. So check this out. America had to be built over time, and much of America had become fetid and gross, like mold, right? But as we came through, all the way through the civil rights movement, a lot of the worst parts of that mold had been eradicated, right? Had been shrunken down, almost gone, right? From public view. So they put the drywall up and told everybody that the problem was cured. The problem's gone. We're better now, right? Put the drywall up, painted it, hung your pictures, did all those things, right? Well, behind those walls, the mold was just growing and festering and becoming more potent. Trump is the one who came and tore down the wall and exposed all the mold so it can get out and get everybody sick. That's what I'm saying. White supremacy is the mold.
Trump told you, just to piggyback off what you're saying, is Trump told you mold is natural. So don't be afraid of natural.
Nope. Come out of the shadows.
Come out from the shadows. As a matter of fact,
there's more of us than there are of them.
Yeah.
And the ones who are out there are weak. That's why 30-40% are able to wage this most effective bloodless campaign against the rest, because the rest allowed themselves to fall into this false sense of security. We had that 30% walled off behind that wall, and we pretended like they weren't there. And this is where I actually point the finger of blame towards the left. We ignored these people for so long. And I'm not saying their grievances are right, but I'm also saying that their grievances on some levels are justified on a human level. Because the fact is, this country left huge portions behind. It's gutted education. When the rail system and all these different things that connected the Midwest to the rest of the nation went away from being commuter trains and just became like production trains and just rolled through, all these communities in the middle starved.
Yeah.
And no one cared. Their children had to move away. No one cared. The factories that they were 2-3 generations working in closed, went overseas. No one cared, because we moved to the coastlines and we were able to make money on investments and international trade and all of these different things that made overall America better, but it left a huge chunk of people who had been privileged, who had been labeled what the flyover country people, they used to call them the heartbeat of America.
Heartland.
Yeah, so they're the heartland. How do you take a group of people that, yes, they were given land and slaves to move out there many years ago, but that's 3-4 generations ago. They don't remember that. What they do know is they get up every morning at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and they farm and they produce and they do their best, and they're losing money every year, and their kids are going away and and no one talks to them. And then here comes this knucklehead.
And he didn't know.
And he talked to him.
He talked to him.
And
pretending like he cared. No, he didn't.
And for some people, he fulfill the prophecy of the bad king. I'm going to throw so much chaos into the entire situation that it is going to trigger end times. You know, piggybacking off of our conversation about evangelicals.
Mm-hmm. They want a reckoning.
Right. Right.
But I never quite understood that part. Even when I was a Christian, I couldn't quite understand how certain groups would be so hateful, because the most dangerous strip of place in America has always been the Bible Belt. So it's strange how you say heaven is so much better, and that's where you want to go, but you're afraid to die, but you'll send some other people. Oh, you'll round some other folk and send them.
Because let's go back to
if it's
one
better,
of the
it's better. Why
stories.
y'all go first and then leave us back here to try to fix some things?
Let's go to back to one of the stories, and I'm gonna go way back to slavery, and one of the stories that was told to slaves.
Way back, about 160 years. Gotcha.
Yeah, way back.
Way. Okay.
So, one of the stories that was told to slaves wasn't about Adam and Eve. It was told about Cain and Abel. And one of the stories that was told was, remember that Cain killed Abel, blah, blah, blah. We're going to force Cain, and God proclamated that Cain's descendants will always be slaves to Abel's descendants. Ain't nobody questioning how the hell Abel is actually able to make a generation if he's dead.
I think you confuse your stories.
Yeah, you blended it a little bit.
You blended them. No, it was.
But they did do like a blood.
Yeah, it was. Noah had 3 sons. There was Shem, Ham, and the other one.
No,
because that one ain't nowhere in the Bible. I'm like, huh? Wait a minute, because I know Cain had the X on his head because he was like, "Who's gonna kill me?" And then God put an X on his head so nobody would bother. That I do know. What you saying? I'm like, huh? Where?
Okay, and then Abel was what?
Abel was dead.
He was dead.
So
he ain't had no kin. He ain't had no family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started. It was Seth and Cain that had the children because Abel was gone.
Okay. Now,
because it's the descendants of Ham are the ones that they say we are, or whatever.
Did I want y'all to go and look this up? Because y'all are putting logic to this crap, and it ain't logic to it.
No, because
we're just saying it's a different Bible story. That's all.
Yeah, you just combining them. I'm like, where he get that part was actually that part.
But I'm sorry, I'm with you on where you headed. I'm sorry.
We know where you going. You just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me how you was getting there.
I'm listening, Marlon. Please go.
I'm listening, Marlon.
This is your show.
No, it has nothing to do with my show. It has absolutely to do with the fact that y'all are actually putting logic to this. It was no logic. It's not logical. Y'all really sitting there going, this doesn't make no sense. It didn't make sense when they told the story.
No, of
and
course
you're
it did.
to a bunch of slaves who didn't read the Bible.
Couldn't read, and were banned from reading.
And the version we got came from a crooked king. So
let me finish what I was saying.
Okay, go ahead.
And I want y'all to look this up. Y'all got my email. Y'all can look this up. They told that the ascendants of Cain will always be slaves to Abel's people. Guess who they decided was going to be the descendants of Cain?
I can guess.
Yes.
Would it happen to be black people?
Bingo! And I appreciate the fact that y'all 160 years ago, as Theus has pointed out, that we have used logic on this, but we're got to think 160 years ago when there was no logic. They wasn't trying to use logic on slaves. They used any implement that they could use. Now they've used the force of threat, of death, and now they're using the Bible. So now they're using the Bible to the extent of saying, you have been biblically descended to work for us. It is written in the Bible. Of course, what have already been said on this panel, the Bible that you're not allowed to read.
Yeah, but I found where you was possibly talking about, because I was
talking
like,
about the
no.
mark of Cain.
Yeah, it's the curse. It's called the curse of Cain. And the mark of Cain are phrases that originated from the story of Cain and Abel. Although your version still can't find no reference for it, but
I will bring. I'll promise you, I will bring it. I will bring it.
Yeah, the mark was he got that mark on his head. That's all I'm really finding.
Yeah, originally it was God marked Cain so that people would not kill him.
Kill him, yeah.
And then it morphed into that
just,
mark must be darkened skin, which then morphed into being black. Yeah.
But I was like, I know there were 3 sons, but those are the 3 sons of Noah. But that's a whole different story.
That's a different line.
That's where I thought you was going. I was like, oh, okay.
Here's a funny story, Tracy. Where did you get that information from?
The first one or the second one?
Any of it. Any of it.
You went online and looked it up.
No, I ain't saying that.
I got it from what I was taught. I mean, we got it out of the Bible.
Taught from the Bible.
But of course, you read different translations. You don't just stick with one. You just, you know, sometimes I go King James because I want more poetic type thing. And then other times I go New Living Translation because I'm looking for more modern.
What I try to tell you.
So many people don't know there are different versions of the Bible.
Oh, they know there's different versions. They just think they're all inerrant, which is
to get what
ridiculous.
they want.
Right.
You're looking at the Bible as, no, this is what the Bible says. So you're wrong. This is what the Bible says. And I'm trying to explain to you, that's not what the end product was. They don't give a damn what the Bible
they gonna twist and turn. I mean, they would use that scripture that says obey your masters. And just, well, you post right. Nah, they ain't what we're talking about, though.
But therein lies much of the problem, which is why I don't like organized religion. But yeah, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, hey, if you look at the spirit of the word, then it's very easy to work with. If you take the Bible and the Torah and the Quran and you overlap them and you find where they have a commonality, you'll find the Spirit of God staring right at you. But so long as you're trying to go through some written text that has been adjusted and adjusted and adjusted and adjusted, then you end up in a situation, which we've had for thousands of years at this point, where everyone takes the part that they want to use and they
But people on the left do that, and it gets on my
people on the left.
nerve.
I mean, everybody does it.
No, but people on the left, I respect all religions. Okay, so when you gonna throw in Dianetics and the Torah and the Quran, it's just attack the Bible, but that's my opinion, and that my show. So
and the main reason that you get that though is because in America the Christians have the power. Yeah. So if the Christians have the power and they're abusing the power, then that's who we're gonna pick on. And then you look, because no one seems to have that issue with overseas, where the Muslims who are twisting the Islamic faith, and doing all these things, but we go and attack their whole countries, destroy whole countries. And over here don't bat an eye. So no, everybody's hands are dirty here. Everybody's hands are dirty. And it's just when it comes to somebody criticizing us that we're like, wait a minute. It's like when people talk about black folk and I get my butt on my shoulders. But we do stupid shit too. So it's like people want to back their camp.
That's what getting one thing, Theus. You keep getting one thing. All of this is always erased by thoughts and prayers.
Yep, that's what it'll take.
That's
Yep.
all we need.
No action, no nothing. Just
Man,
don't
folks
do
get so
nothing.
upset with me online because I go right at you, man. Because personally, I do believe that prayer is a powerful force, but I view it as a meditating force. So it's you, like help you channel you to do
But
better.
you have to have action with it. You can't
Right.
just do one and then I'm just going. That's like looking for a job. You praying for a job, but you don't never put in a resume.
No applications, no
It's
phone
just nothing. It's
calls.
just gonna fall out the sky. It's just go here it come on your lap.
And I totally agree. I actually believe that thoughts and prayers would work if you actually was doing thoughts and prayers, and you're doing.
No, then you have to do actions like abandoning assault weapons.
If you do thoughts and prayers, if you thought about the situation, you prayed to God about what your next, Tracy, you're right, what your next action.
Yeah, you got to have some action because
then I would agree with you.
Faith without works.
I actually kind of push back a little bit.
Thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
Faith without works is dead. If I say I got first
as well.
and don't have no works, what is you talking about?
And in a tree that you know what, a tree by its fruit, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's what are you producing? What are you doing? Right. So I'm 100% with you guys there. But here's my thing though. The people who do the whole prayer thing and they swear they're talking to God and then they want to come and then take action. Okay. It's gonna sound insulting. But you were just talking to yourself. And now you gonna come and tell me what yourself told you to do about me. No. I'm not saying prayer ain't real. I'm saying that I got questions about the God you're praying to 9 times out of 10 anyway. And then 2, let his instructions or the entity's instructions, however you genderize your God, let that inform you on being a better you, and you will accomplish great things.
Yeah, because
but I don't want nobody coming to me talking about God told me that you need to not have an abortion. No,
you can't force people to know because that's an ignorant slanted faith. If somebody Christian said that to me, I'd be like, get out my face. There's this thing called free will.
Grew up with it. God told me to tell you.
If you can find bullshit in the Bible about what you're doing is absolutely correct, but you can't even show me the scripture where it's at, please shut the fuck up, please.
Even if you can show me the scripture.
I'm trying to be as nice as I possibly can. Don't tell me that the Bible said something. You can't show me where the hell the script is.
I don't care, even if you can. Okay?
Yeah, no,
even if you can. No, because your religion guides you.
You try to give people an out. They can't find, they ain't read the fucking Bible since they was 2 years old. You couldn't find what the hell you talking about.
But there are people who can quote scripture to you, and that still can be just as bad because the scripture that you're quoting to me has been reinterpreted and readapted. So even though you're coming from a good place, I'm not saying people are coming from a bad place here. You could be coming from a good place.
You are when your faith causes you to infringe on the rights of others.
I concur. But when we get into faith without works is dead, right? And we talk about the fruit, and all those different things, and the fruits of the spirit and all these things, I'm just saying that those should all push inward. Because if they all push inward, you will begin to model that which you profess to believe.
Well, I'm going to take it
will have impact.
But I'll take it a step further because what's in you comes out eventually.
I agree. That's what I'm saying, though. Let it emanate out from you. Let me feel the presence of this God that you say that you serve. But if what is coming out of you is hypocritical, is transactional,
judgmental,
one day is good, the next day is that. No, I'm not judging. I'm observing.
No, I'm just saying if you come from a judgmental.
Right.
Because people say, oh, you can't judge. I'm like, did you read the whole thing or just that one verse? Because you taking the whole thing out of context.
They really do.
Who literally already have their judgment, how we want to go. Their their livelihood.
Yep.
You have people who've already decided how they're going to be, and then they will scour the Bible to try to justify it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we've always had that. Anytime
Well-
you write something down. So that's one of the things I will say, and I have said this to various discussions with various Christians. My God, because we grew up the same way. Okay. So at the core of me, we actually have almost the same faith. But my God is too big to be encapsulated in the words of that Bible. As great as the Bible is, my God is bigger than that. That was, in my interpretation, God trying to speak to me in parable and in lessons that I can continue to go back to, because as I develop and grow, it actually, you pull different things out. You know what I mean? Like, if you talk to most Christians, how they started, they could read the same verse at age 16 and then come back to that book and chapter at age 40 and get a different message from it because you've matured. And I'm just saying, let that be the case. Mature, do your thing, and then go out and do wonderful things. But if you're going to sit there and try to make a child be afraid to be who they are just because you don't agree with how that child is, nah, I can't ride with you there. I just can't. And that's where they lose me a lot of times. They lose me a lot with, I'm not of the LGBTQ community, and I am far from a perfect ally because I don't agree with everything about it. But you know what? Ain't my business. All I need to do is accept it. That's it. I don't know why that's so hard.
Foxy's videos of the week.
Wait, I thought we were done.
Because this is like 11, it's 6 minutes till 11.
Yeah, I thought we were.
Wish I will want to get through this so I can get off.
Oh, okay, let's go, then. It's your show.
The song's over. Okay.
I still got. I don't
Where's the
need.
video?
Yeah, where the video?
Y'all are so getting on my nerves.
You
Anyway,
want to have us on here?
You just
He was
told
watching
us.
me dancing, and
oh, can I get through it?
Please.
Please.
After you.
Just a beggy chooser.
Was messing with him. For setup, I parked for work in a giant car park that's shared by a McDonald's and a supermarket. The supermarket also has a sandwich deli that serves fresh, huge, pretty healthy sandwiches and similar products. This was after work, and I was famished, so I decided to be naughty and grab a snack from the McDonald's. As I was doing so, I got stopped by a beggar asking if I could help him out with some food. I'm somewhat jaded with encounters such as this, so I say I can get him a specific thing from McDonald's if he's happy to take that. Not just offering cash, or I'm going to get badgered. The beggar looks nervous, clears his throat, and says he would prefer something different. If possible, sandwiches from the deli are much more filling and healthy than a McDonald's snack. If possible, and only if possible, would I mind getting him a sandwich from the deli instead of a cheeseburger or whatever? Dude looked so ashamed and nervous about asking me to go an extra step on his behalf, but he was right. I tell the dude to not sweat it and wait right there. As I'm making the order at the deli, I tell the worker about the whole thing. She finds it so sweet, she gives me 3 sandwiches for the price of 1 to take out to the guy. The guy tears up when he sees the small feast I brought out for him, and I tell him to thank the deli worker as well, since she contributed too. He mutely offers me one of the sandwiches and we go back and forth for a bit. He's insistent that this is so nice, I need to have one to enjoy myself too. It's only dropped when I point out that the sandwiches were specifically a gift from the deli to him. It would be stealing if I took them. So this guy was literally a choosing beggar. I was going to offer him a cheeseburger or some chicken nuggets. He specifically tried to choose something else. It was also one of the nicest moments in my life. Thank you for reading. I think this...
That was nice.
Dia's destroying this story in 3, 2,
But I mean, it was nice. I mean, there's a little bit of the thing where you had your little judgment up front. I'm not gonna give you money, but I'll go and I'll get you the food. Okay, well, all right. I don't agree with that part, but that's your call. And then he's like, well, can I get something a little bit more filling? And you were a little hesitant, which I think anybody would be. And then you acquiesced, and then you went and got the sandwiches, and you saw something about what true charity looks like. So there's a piece of charity in you because you stopped. So that's a good thing. Then you go and you meet this lady at the deli and you encounter real charity, like the next level of charity. And then you come back to the man who started all this and you encounter the realest charity. A man who has nothing but wants to, he is insistent that he now is giving to you who's giving to him. So it's a wonderful story all the way around. Lessons galore.
I wanted to end the show off on something positive because technically this whole show was negative. Rightfully so. Don't get it twisted.
I had fun.
I had fun. I thought for a while that we was getting away from getting in deep on Radical Truth to Power. And I thought we was just joking too much and joking less on the other show. I'm thinking that, not you, that we need to switch, that we need to go deeper into what's going on in society on Radical Truth and chill out and everything on Saturday Night Vibe. And I thought it was getting skewed a little bit, so to speak. So I want to pull that back to doing what we need to do. So I thought it would be nice just to end it off on something sweet and tangible.
Hope
that was lovely. I used to make up a sandwich and some vegetables for a man that I used to see on an exit where I went to one of my doctors. He was there every week, and he didn't hold up a sign asking for anything. He was a lovely man.
And tell everybody where they can find you.
I have a website. It's borreliaetc.com. Also going to be putting up a new video in the next couple days, so stay tuned.
Tracy
Media LLC. Hope everybody enjoys the reformatted page.
Oh, I gotta see that.
ComplexSimpleMan.com. I also updated my website color scheme, so yeah, check that out as well.
And you can find us here every weekend, Saturday Night Vibe at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Radical Truth and Power every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we'll go into deep, in-depth conversation. Also, don't forget that Radical Truth to Power is returning to the podcast, so please stay tuned for that. I will be on my Patreon page and on my Facebook page, letting everybody know when the podcast will be released for anybody who just want an hour of informative information. I thank everybody who showed up to the show. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate this panel. I really do.
We appreciate you too, Marlon. You did a great job tonight.
Awesome. You're a wonderful dude. Your preparation shines through on your product. And just say no to mayo.
I appreciate Diaz all the way to the last point where he can go to hell. So go ahead and say the benedictory at the end, Diaz, so we can get on out of here.
Well, all hearts and minds are clear. I'd just like to say peace unto you and each of your families. I hope that you have a great start of your week. This was a good weekend. I wish you peace, love, and just take care of yourself and somebody else.
Namaste.
Friday night, guys, coming this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And until next time, we will see you.
We're going to talk about ducks.
We will see you when we see you. Peace.